news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
Good morning, this is Newswire. Dennis Oseto. President Uhuru Kenyatta has suspended Justice Said Juma Chitembwe and appointed a tribunal to investigate allegations of misconduct against the judge. This after the president received a petition from the Judicial Service Commission on the removal from office of Justice Chitembwe, judge of the High Court of Kenya. The president notes that the petition contains grave allegations regarding the conduct of the judge and further notes that allegations of gross misconduct on the part of a judge erode the faith of Kenyans in the fair administration of justice. Meanwhile, Justice Marty Muya can breathe a sigh of relief after the Supreme Court quashed a decision to remove him from office by a tribunal appointed by the president. The tribunal had found Justice Muya guilty of misconduct following two complaints lodged with the Judicial Service Commission against him. The first complaint was raised by the firm of Onyinkwa and Company Advocates on behalf of the client, NIC Bank Limited, while the second complaint was filed by the firm of Mukite Musange and Company Advocate on behalf of the client, Kenya Commercial Bank Limited. Still on the corridors of justice, and the forgery case against Kapsaret Member of Parliament Oscar Sudi has taken a new twist after the court established that the legislator is not out of the country as alleged. The MP Thursday for the time did not show up in court, with his lawyers claiming he is undergoing treatment in Turkey. Lawyers Thomas Ruto, Collins Kiprono and Jojo Jakoya frantic efforts to obtain travel documents to prove that their client had indeed traveled flopped. Ojakoya, who is also a presidential aspirant, told the court his co-counsel was at the embassy securing documents, forcing the court to temporarily adjourn. When the hearing resumed, the team was only able to present a medical report whose authentication was in question. Lawyer Kipromo had a difficult time confirming whether Austin Okoh, a signatory of the diagnosis, was a doctor. Upon further interrogation by the visibly riled Anti-Corruption Court Chief Magistrate Felix Kombo, Suda's lawyers said the flight may have either been delayed or cancelled. The hearing continued with the first witness taking to the stand. The court Wednesday declined the petition by the defense to have the case pushed. Now, President Uhuru Kenyatta is scheduled to address the World Health Assembly for the first time, where he is expected to outline how Kenya has been at the forefront in championing health issues globally. Speaking ahead of President Kenyatta's official visit to Switzerland, Ambassador Andrew Kehurani said this is important in terms of showing the support that Kenya has for issues which will be discussed with the Assembly on the issue of health. The 75th World Health Assembly will commence on the 22nd of May and is expected to end on the 28th of May in Geneva, Switzerland. The Kenya Kwanza Alliance has vowed to address the plight of police officers in the country to minimize cases of corruption in the service of elected leaders in August. Speaking at the Rift Valley Sports Club during the Nakuru County Bottom-Up Economic Forum, Mathura MP and recently nominated Deputy President William Ruto's running mate Rigathi Gachagua said they will improve police officers' salaries and ensure they are paid commensurate amounts with the job they do. Gachagua said police officers are paid poorly, treated inhumanely, and their grievances ignored, hence the rising cases of corruption in the service. Now, Azimio la Umoja presidential running mate Martha Karua has called for tolerance during the campaign rallies ahead of the August polls. Karua, who led the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition team in a campaign tour of Chogoria and Chuka in Tharaka Nithi County, urged political opponents to exercise mutual respect irrespective of their divergent ideologies, saying the August polls will come and go, but Kenyans will still need each other. The Kenya leader, who was accompanied by Agriculture CS Peter Munya and Murang'a woman Representative Sabina Shege, among others, said that Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition will fight corruption once it assumes power. And maize farmers from Wasingishu and Elgeyo Marakwet counties are staring at a potential food scarcity following the invasion of the destructive fall armyworms that have destroyed large farms. Farmers are now calling for immediate intervention from the relevant authorities. Even as the country grapples with an acute shortage of maize resulting from the recent drought, the infestation of pests is posing yet another threat of food insecurity. The destructive fall armyworms have been reported in Sergoit area, Moiben, where maize plantations have been destroyed. The affected farmers are now calling for urgent intervention by both the national and county governments. And finally, African Union member states have passed a resolution requiring that all COVID-19 vaccines, assistance and those being procured by individual countries be sourced from within the continent. This is according to Africa CDC Director Dr. Ahmed Okoh. This is Newswire. Dennis Assetto. Good morning.
I like listening to you guys. You're the default radio station in my car in the morning. Even the children listen to you guys.
I agree Parliament has failed this country, and I will say it again. We have not done what we should have done.
We know in this country, the Kenya prison sector is one of the most underfunded sector.
The way it is being done and the way we're calling it Huduma number them Msema Kweli is because all records will be there. You know, there are people who are now billionaires with no history as to how they got all these assets.
Yes. Anything that the president does that is not in accord with the constitution is an illegal act. You know, he shouldn't be doing it, and he should be sitting here and trying to sort of guide it up.
I totally believe live transmission of results and allowing Kenyans to be able to view all these results. I believe that it will be impossible to steal elections.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
It's Friday in Nairobi, and hopefully we don't have a crazy day like we did yesterday. Fingers crossed, knock on wood. We're going to have to wait and see what the next few minutes look like coming out of Westlands if we're going to have the same problem again. So we'll wait and see. Coming off the Thika Superhighway, we're already seeing traffic building up right around that Pangani underpass, but nothing crazy up ahead. Westlands looks pretty good right now. And we know a lot of folks did not use the expressway yesterday, so we'll just keep an eye on things and see how that happens. Teething problems, day 1 or 2, 3, end of 1 week. Let's keep an eye on things. Getting into the CBD, not too bad for a Friday morning. We'll wait, see. SpiceFM KE on Twitter, text 40127. Let's keep things moving this morning.
SpiceFM, Nakuru. This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching
Good
up,
morning, how are
down.
you doing? It's 8 minutes after 6. Happy Friday! It's that day, it's the 20th day of the month, 2022. Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation. City.
Yes.
How you doing?
Fine.
Friday.
Uko
na mpango?
Definitely.
Yeah? Sina bwana, si unifanya nini?
Jali, this one is one of those mpangos which is divisible.
Yeah.
So nitakupatia kipande.
Unaweza nikatia.
Hata ndio nitamwekea upande.
Nikawie.
So that yeye pia awe na ya.
Yake.
So kila mtu awe na ya.
Yake.
Yes, namna hiyo.
Ndu?
Yeah.
Are you
Are you there?
Are you there?
There, where is there?
Here.
There.
Nico. I'm trying to convince City to enter Nigeria.
Oh, no. I don't need to be convinced. So you've told me they have ugali.
I'll do you one better.
Iko bambla pia.
What's that?
Sile samaki.
Obambla.
Wena kata samaki. Basi nakausa kwa jua.
That's what?
Mzungu anakuambia sun dried.
But now kama inapikwa sasa haikui sun dried, inakuwa sun kissed. Yes. Jua imepatia ibusu.
That's
Obambla.
Kabisa.
Otherwise known as Obambo.
Obambo.
Yes.
And what's that meat there? Athola.
That thing can make you confess your sins. My good Lord.
Do tell.
The thing is very sweet, man.
What is the thing?
The meat. I'm still on the meat.
Which meat?
The athola.
Tell us about the athola.
Let Nyarugenya tell us.
Chakula tamu sana, man.
You remember your first experience?
With the meat?
Yes. Tell us about it.
It was delicious. I don't know how they had made it or how they had stewed it or whatever, but it was good.
So what is athola anyway?
Iko nyama sambli mbili.
Right.
Okay. Sasa, the way fish was dried, meat was also preserved through drying. Okay. What the Mzungus call biltong. Okay. Biltong, bill in the tongue. Then, what you then did with it in those olden days, you cooked it. But it wasn't just cooked traditionally. It was cooked in milk. Just like this, Obambla was also cooked in milk. You have milk, you boil the fish in milk. It brings about a certain flavor that is incomparable and is beyond compare. Sasa, modern day technology and modern day apparati. Yes, the drying process is hastened. The cooking process now also has condiments, as we call them. But you start with a product that has been dried.
So it's dried?
Kwanza.
And milk must be used.
These days they don't use milk. They simply dry it and then they go through the process of cooking it in whatever way they like.
Now then when it's reconstituted, it's that smoke factor, the dry factor, now in the fresh stew. Oh man, that's what brings out the flavor.
When I talk about modern technology, I also talk about a fish, okay? There is fish dry and there's fish wet. For it to be wet, it needs to have been dry first.
Yeah?
Yes.
And then it's
inakaushwa na mafuta. Then rojo it is stewed thereafter. Sasa hiyo ndio samaki wet. Na dry ni ile ingine.
Wet iko na manyanya.
Yes. Na stungu.
Hey, okay. Now you know City's weekend. Don't need to ask anymore. That's enough. That is enough. Kabisa. Sisi inside.
Ndani.
Sisi without plan.
Ni mko kwa program. Unajua vile program inakuweko katika hizi ninio. Ni mko ndani.
Sisi tuko hapo.
Item number 2.
Yes. For high table.
High table.
The aunties who bring the meat with the covered plate.
Yes.
Sasa hapo ndio sisi tuko. That room where they bring it.
Or that plate which you think is big. If a proper road runner was there, you see the legs sticking out. Yes.
Let me tell you about today's show. So tomorrow is International Tea Day. And did you know? There's a day for everything.
Yep.
Kesho ni siku ya chai. Mtu akitisha we chai, mupe yeye chai. In whatever form. To have that conversation, we'll be joined by a sales and marketing manager from Kiptagich Tea Estates, Nicholas Cherryot, to tell us, tea, we just assume tea is the tea we know. Until you start reading and then say, there's black tea, there's green tea, there's I don't know what tea.
There's purple tea, there's Elon tea.
All those. So we'll have a conversation about that and exactly what tea is all about. International Tea Day conversation happening at 7 o'clock. At 8 o'clock, Chief Justice Martha Koome will be in the studio with us. She's about to commemorate 1 year in office since she was sworn in as the first woman Chief Justice in the Republic. And she'll be here to tell us what her experience has been in that 1 year. Remember, she has been rolling out this policy called STARGE, Social Transformation for through Access to Justice. So she'll tell us all these programs that she rolled out and what she's been doing. Keep it here for that conversation. It's not Justice Thursday, it's Justice Thursday extended to Friday. with the Chief Justice. At 9 o'clock, we want to have another conversation. The IFC country manager. So IFC is the International Finance Corporation. Is the commercial arm of the World Bank. And they'll be here. The boss of the country and the Kenya cluster, which covers Kenya plus some countries in the region. She will be here with us at 9 o'clock. Amina Arif will be talking about increasing market access for women-owned businesses. So they did a study apparently at IFC and World Bank, and they realized that many businesses that are owned by women are not doing very well when it comes to procurement and actually getting tenders or jobs, not only in the public sector, but also in the private sector. So they're working now with the private sector and saying, okay, look, how about you actually put it in your policies that you are going to also consider businesses that are owned by women when you're going into procurement. So we'll have that conversation with her at 9 o'clock. COVID.
All right, let's look quickly at what's going on worldwide. 525,903,351. That's what the global tally is right now. In Kenya, we still looking at a sample size of 2,059. 32 new cases from that particular sample size then puts Kenya's positivity rate at 1.6%. Again, this is the highest that it has been in the last 12 weeks or so. 1.6%. Many would say it's negligible, but considering what Kenya's come out from under 1% in the last few days, this is not a cause for alarm or worry, but those are the cases that were found to be positive. Let's look really quickly at what's happening around the world. The World Health Organization is questioning China's COVID policy, and the big question is, why are they doing this? Why are they asking these questions? He said China should rethink its strict COVID strategy aimed at halting the spread of the virus. So now they're saying China is being too strict. I mean, it's too much. Why lock down the entire country? But the question comes, interestingly enough, because China has specifically locked out business, international business. Shanghai shut down for a month plus. And of course, the other countries are crying. We cannot do business. We cannot, because the amount of business that's generated in Shanghai on a daily basis is unbelievable. And this is largely by countries around the world. Okay, of course, the US being one of them. And so out of this, the World Health Organization says, okay, come on, guys. This is coming off the back of the World Health Organization saying just 3 weeks ago that we ought to be really careful. Just because we've seen a decline in COVID cases around the world doesn't mean that COVID has gone. And now they say, China, maybe you're being just a little bit too strict, okay? This approach is not sustainable. You cannot lock down the country for months on end. And China says, well, that's very nice. However, as our country, we're going to decide and do what we see fit and what we see best. Did you know that there was monkey virus, or rather, let's say monkeypox outbreaks during COVID? Africa CDC has said a handful of cases of the virus had now been reported or are suspected in the UK, US, Portugal, and Spain. But Africa seems to have contained monkeypox even during the times of COVID.
What is monkeypox?
Monkeypox, okay.
Smallpox in monkeys.
Or chickenpox in monkeys.
But it's a pox of some sort, but it's with monkeys. But anyway, let's stop being clever.
It was okay. So it's the same kind of pox, but it was first found in monkeys.
Okay.
And then it's easily transmissible to humans. All right. Rarely spreads out of West and Central Africa, but we've seen this happening now. According to folks from the Africa CDC, he's the acting director. Ahmed Ouma says, look, it can be contained. But of course now, the Western nations into which it has found its way are having a bit of a panic and asking questions. How did Africa contain this during times of COVID? Well, they did. And they're concerned about the multiple countries outside of Africa, especially in Europe, that are seeing outbreaks of monkeypox. It would be very useful to have knowledge shared regarding what the source of these outbreaks actually are. Did people travel? Where did they go? And again, is this chagrin that Africa is able to do this even in the times of COVID?
Okay. Yeah. I have very many questions, but I'll ask them later.
Okay.
It's 19 minutes after 6. We are live streaming the show on YouTube and Facebook. We are also live on SpiceFM across the country. Wherever you are, good morning. If you're online, say hello. Let's take a look at the weather forecast and do our usual roll call.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Hey, it's getting hot in here. The media has greatly contributed to the moral rot that we experience in this country.
I remember a senior politician telling me, point blank, nobody steals in the field. It's stolen in the granary. So my friend, if you're going to win an election, jipange kwa granary.
I think we are suffering from Stockholm syndrome. Our violator and abuser is also our redeemer in our mind.
The whole political class, the whole political institution is rotten. It is
16 degrees and cloudy conditions in Nairobi. We'll see highs of 26 today and lows of 14. It's mostly cloudy at 14 in Nakuru, highs of 25, back down to lows of 14. Raining slightly in Nyeri at 16, highs of 24 and lows of 14 today. 13 degrees and mostly cloudy conditions in Eldoret, highs of 25. And in Mombasa, it's clear for now at 25. We'll see highs of 31. 28 degrees and clear conditions in Malindi, highs of 31 and lows of 26. We're seeing clear skies in Kisumu, highs of 29 and lows of 18. And Kakamega, mostly clear at 16. Go to highs of 28 and lows of 15. Out in Kampala, it's mostly cloudy at 18, highs of 28. And we'll see highs of 30 in a clear Dar es Salaam, currently at 23. It's 8 degrees and clear in Johannesburg, highs of 17. And we'll see highs of 31 in a cloudy Lagos at 25. It's also 25 and clear in Kinshasa, highs of 31 and lows of 24. At 29, Beijing is sunny. Going into Friday afternoon, we'll see highs of 33 and lows of 16. While at 16, we're seeing clear conditions in Paris, partly cloudy coming in later, highs of 24 and lows of 12. Looking at light rain in London at 14, highs of 19 and lows of 11, while New York is mostly cloudy at 14. We'll see highs of 21 and lows of 12.
Spice FM. Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
$22 minutes after what?
After 6. Eddie Oduo says, good morning. It's a beautiful morning in Koru, and I'm looking forward to the weekend. Sad my friend Kalonzo hasn't made up his mind yet where he wants to be. Indeed.
He's taking the time to reflect.
Sure.
The fact that we don't know doesn't mean he hasn't made up his mind.
Or that he didn't make up his mind a long time ago, and all these other things that we are seeing as something totally different. Sammy Amoni says, good morning. He misses Obambo. He misses Obambo. Michael Gitao says, good morning. Glad to see that Eric resumed his alarm. Aren't we all?
What? I had to check like 15 times.
Which means the guy didn't sleep.
Indeed. I was about to ask, are you feeling a tad sleepy?
Yeah, but...
Looking forward to great conversations. Indeed. Miranda Ben says, good morning from Gatina. Masai Mjini now is hungry and he needs fish. City, see you fanya hivyo. Davey Mwana Ireri says, good morning. Glad to have you back, Eric. Where did he go? He didn't go anywhere. He just woke up late. Let's just understand. Robert Pogo says, good morning, tuning from Mombasa. Yusuf Onchoka is tuning from Riyadh and says, good morning. Good morning, guys. Tuned in from the borders of Embakasi. Hey, which ones are those? Linda Choga says, good morning from Eldoret. And Ondicho says, good morning. Hey, MCR Muli Kimanzi is tuned in this morning from Mwingi Central. It's been a minute. How are you? Karibu Sana. Quite a number of you online this morning. Skanske Limuga. Tuned in from Mombasa, Miritini. K. Pitar is tuned in, listening from Chennai City in India. And he said today's proverb from India is that no man can paddle 2 canoes at the same time. Okay. Ami Oven is tuned in. Daniel Jamhuri, Bewa Ashley, Machete Gervan tuned in as well. Andrew woke up this morning and said it's still March because he yesterday received a bill from KPLC. And so clearly we are still in March.
Yeah, we haven't moved.
No.
Change management, change...
Do whatever you want. Put a new ED, MD. Nada. Good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
City, the proverb.
Yes, we are still in the wonderful and great country of Uganda. A dog with a bone in the mouth cannot bite you.
Unless you put your finger.
A dog with a bone in the mouth cannot bite you.
Yes. Simple reason, it is busy biting the bone.
You ever seen those vicious Those ones that are called Kenyan dogs.
Mm.
It has a bone in the mouth. And then it seals with another bone.
It still wants that one.
It will drop whatever it's having and come for yours.
Wouldn't you say that these bones actually somehow tend to exemplify certain traits that their owners might have?
Greed.
That is, yes, if we refer, if
we're just calling it as
if
it
we
is.
call it Kenyans. And also, the thing about the dogs you speak of, origins, pedigree are usually indeterminate. In fact,
these ones are called mongrels.
yes, that's what they're called mongrels. From a distance, you can think it's a goat.
Please don't start. I beg you. Please. I'm unable to deal with you this morning. Please.
Okay.
Please.
We'll leave it at that.
Is it a dog? Okay. So this one is from where again? Uganda.
Uganda.
A dog with a bone in its mouth cannot bite you. All right. So let's look at the newspaper headlines. Okay. Premium content on www.standardmedia.co.ke. This one story here. Did she really have to die at only 35 years? AP officer Judith Nyawera turned a gun on herself. What led to this? If you want to know the details, just go over to the standardmedia.co.ke. You'll get the story. What are you looking at, City?
My friend, I'm looking at a very interesting story here. The Standard has a portion that it is usually featured on page 2 called Echoes from the Past. This one I found hilarious. And the story is about a certain late gentleman, one Seroney, Jean Seroney, and it was Jean-Marie Seroney. They are trying to bring the past into the present by talking about a time gone by in the 1960s, immediately after independence, the first times Africans were allowed to actually vote in large numbers. Universal suffrage was being realized, and the goings on at that time. And they talk about how this particular gentleman, a giant in his time, and a giant in history, chose the symbol. He says, just like people have symbols now, they had symbols then. Jean-Marie Seroney had a rival called Shadrach Kimalel. Okay? Now, Jean-Marie Seroney chose as a symbol a vehicle, a car. Reason was very simple. He had recently bought a car. Okay? So now, and not many Africans had cars. His rival, on the other hand, chose elephant. Now, as people campaigned, the elephant turned to be something that wasn't very useful because people remember that elephants, the thing they remembered elephants for was it destroyed their crops. But it didn't just end there. Jean-Marie Seroney also had a bit of a problem. His car had an accident and it fairly mangled and damaged.
During the campaigns?
During the campaigns. So now he had to walk from place to place campaigning without the car. So the symbol.
Chagua gari.
It almost killed. And it almost killed him. Karibu ikuwe. But he was spared and saved because one, a friend of his lent him a car. So he was then able to campaign. Now, the story goes on to talk about the intrigues, and we talk about intrigues now. The intrigues were available even then.
Which year are we talking about here?
We're talking about 1960, Baba.
Okay.
So, Jean Seroney and one Kimalel knew each other. So one day they are in the town and Seroney gives Kimalel some coins to buy a newspaper. But he makes sure there's a full audience in his campaign. If you like this guy, everybody's going to be sending him around to buy newspapers.
In their presence, they saw that this one
They
was
saw.
so they know this is the guy who goes.
This guy, you want to elect, you want this guy to be MP. Okay, you guys go ahead and elect him.
This is the guy who will be being sent by
all
everyone.
the other MPs are just going to be sending him. So you guys, you'll have an MP who's being sent by other MPs. What is implied there is he's actually quite daunting.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
So when we talk about the intrigues that we see in our political sphere right now, okay, the lies people tell, it's called propaganda nowadays, okay? So when you see it at play, okay, we didn't invent it.
It's not new.
No, we've just made it current and used the nuances that are appropriate in our time, but it's been there from time immemorial.
Time for a break then. It's 6:30, Kenya's biggest conversation. How are the roads going to look like this morning? They have blocked off that car part at the mall. This is something they've done there. Anyway, let's see. Let's see when we look at the traffic.
All right, what do the roads look like this morning? At least for now, Waiyaki Way is not looking so bad. We have some movement there and nothing crazy at the moment. Let's look where traffic may be building up on the Thika Superhighway, just a little bit here and there. But again, nothing of crazy status just yet. We're going just past the Utali Drift, the Pangani Underpass, some traffic there. Kiambu Road free and clear, at least for now. Limuru Road in and outbound, and mostly Parklands moving along really smoothly. Coming off Waiyaki Way looks good. James Gishuru connecting with that is okay. Ring Road Westlands, a little bit of traffic building up at your entry and exits, but again, looks good. Raila Odinga Way coming off Langata Road also looks good as well. We're coming off of the Uhuru Highway into the CBD and then out towards Westlands. We're not going to see much of a problem there. Mombasa Road has been behaving so well over the last few days in terms of traffic, 15 minutes from the city into at the end there at Cabanas, but we'll just have to keep an eye on things as we go through today. 6:30 on the nose. A few minutes after that, let's check back half an hour. Where might you see a problem? Let us know. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text 40127.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah.
You're listening to Spice FM. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
IBC from clearing Sonko to contest. Did you know that?
Hey.
Why?
Let me tell you.
Why? Tell us.
The Independent and Electoral and Boundaries Commission has been stopped from processing Mr. Mike Sonko's nomination papers to vie for Mombasa governor's seat. Yesterday, Justice John Mativo issued the order stopping IEBC from clearing Sonko for the August 9th elections, pending the hearing and determination of an application by Hakiyetu, Kituo cha Sheria, and Transparency International. So these three bodies went to court and said, come on, guys, what are we doing? Judge said, okay, let's hear this. In the meantime, you as IEBC cannot clear him to go ahead and continue with his business, right? The organizations want Sonko disqualified. According to Justice Mativo, pending the hearing and determination of the application and or further directions of this court, I order that the IEBC be and is hereby restrained from processing Sonko's nomination papers to vie for the office of Governor of Mombasa County. On May 16th, the High Court in Eldoret forwarded one of the three petition files seeking to stop Sonko from vying for Mombasa Governor to the Chief Justice. Justice Ruben Yakundi directed the three petitions filed in Mombasa, Nairobi and Eldoret to be placed before Chief Justice Martha Koome to decide if they will be consolidated and transferred to Mombasa. In Nairobi, an impeachment case against Sonko is pending at the Supreme Court. In Mombasa, two petitioners, Ndoro Kaguya and George Odhiambo, filed the petition before Justice Mativo seeking conservatory orders, stopping IEBC from clearing Sonko. Sonko, through his lawyers, Jared Magolo and Kiganda Mgibuini, applied to have the matter transferred to Mombasa and be consolidated with the Mombasa petition. Sonko told Justice Mativo that IEBC has the mandate to determine his eligibility. Not you, IEBC. It is not a high court matter. It is an IEBC. So I don't even understand why people are coming into this, basically, is what he said. Kituo cha Sheria, through lawyer Grace Okumu, said the election calendar is time-bound and IEBC is likely to clear Sonko. So the only way that they could get this to happen is if the High Court stopped IEBC, didn't touch Sonko, quote unquote, but compels IEBC not to clear him because this matter is time bound. And if anything, he would continue his campaign, and they don't want this to happen. So IEBC is likely to clear him if the interim order is not granted, and this case dealt with expeditiously. She said Sonko was removed from office by violating the constitution and failing to promote public confidence and integrity in the office of governor. How then can he be vying again in another county?
So there are how many cases now about Sonko? One in Eldoret, one in Nairobi, another one in Mombasa. So the Chief Justice needs to just look at them and say, all right,
consolidated before.
Consolidate them, take them to Mombasa. Let's move.
Let's move with this thing. So in the meantime, IEBC cannot clear him because IEBC is on the brink of clearing folks.
Yeah. This is the point when you're receiving names of your governor and running mates. Nice.
So, said no. Can I read you the rap sheet?
Yes.
Mike Sonko impeachment, right after his woes, right? November 26, 2020, his impeachment. Notice to impeach Sonko is filed. Impeachment date, December 3rd. Vote to impeach, 88. Vote against impeachment was 2. Abstained from the vote were 20. Notice for his removal was filed by Assembly Minority Leader Michael Ogada. That happened. Impeachment by the Senate from overwhelming majority. Vote to impeach 27. Vote against impeachment 16. Abstained were 2. The charges were 4. Gross violation of the Constitution or any other law. Abuse of office, gross misconduct, crimes under national law. These are the charges that were brought against him that was now brought about his impeachment. And then also the case which has been built by these petitioners saying, look at what he's been accused of and convicted of by Senate. How can we then allow him to go and run in another county? June 24th, 2021, High Court upholds his impeachment because he went and, appealed
Took
this.
it to court.
Court of Appeal said his removal was lawful. They stood by the
so
judgment
High Court
of
says
the court.
it's right. Court of Appeal says it's right. Now it's in the Supreme Court.
Goes to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court dismisses his bid to stop Anne Kananu from swearing in as governor. In other words, saying that you are no longer one of us.
But the case, the Supreme Court has not determined this case. Now, this is where the issue comes in as well as for the Supreme Court. I mean, dispense with this matter.
Finish. Let's move.
Yeah. Because now you can clearly see, and if the Chief Justice has been working with the others in the election space to expedite cases that are revolving around elections, I think this is one of those where she should be calling her colleagues in the Supreme Court and saying, as your president, I'm summoning you. Let's dispense with the Sonko case. Let's
finish.
Yeah.
Because it is likely that someone can claim, and rightfully so, that Sonko's rights are being violated.
Yeah, there's a case still pending in court.
Yes. Indeed, he ought to have been given the time of day, and the courts need to have dispensed with it so that we can know which way forward.
Yes.
Yeah. But in the meantime, IEBC then is bound and will not be able to clear him
for the next number of days. As we talk about Sonko, remember Sonko and the issue of Justice Said Juma Chitembwe.
Yes.
So, matter, complaint goes to the Judicial Service Commission. Judicial Service Commission does preliminary investigations, recommends to the president that please appoint a tribunal because we find that there are grounds here that need to be investigated. The president has heeded that call. The president has now appointed a tribunal to investigate allegations of gross misconduct against High Court Judge Said Juma Chitembwe. This tribunal will be chaired by Court of Appeal Judge Mombin Goge. Other members of the tribunal, Senior Counsel Fredo Jambo, Lady Justice Abida Ali Aroni, Justice Nzioki wa Makau, Lawyer James Chieng Oduol, Retired Lieutenant General Jackson Dongo, and Dr. Lydia Nzomo. Where? That is the tribunal that's going to be listening to this particular case. Now, Chitembwe has had a run-in with the law several times. Remember the arrest by the DCI? Oh, it wasn't an arrest. It was a raid into his office, and then he was invited to go to the DCI to record a statement. Yeah, that is one. In 2009, he had been suspended from the judiciary after he was charged with conspiracy to defraud the NSSF more than 1.3 billion shillings, but he was reinstated in October 2011 after being acquitted of that particular one. So, let's see this one. How it goes. Bivu Nambichi.
Every time I hear people saying that, they wonder why it is that this particular justice is being picked on. And I ask myself the question, how many judges of the High Court do we have in this country? And why is it that this particular one would be picked on? Why? I mean, why him? Of all the others. He's not the only one who hears cases. He's not the only one who has matters brought before him that one could consider to be controversial. So it takes me to the question. What was this man's background before he became a judge?
He was a lawyer.
Precisely. What sort of lawyer was he? I ask the question because we ask these questions of politicians and those who aspire for high offices. The office of a judge is a very high office, and it has a great deal of responsibility.
Yep.
So these are questions that if we're going to ask of politicians or people who seek high office, we must ask of judges. Yes.
Now, appointing a tribunal is a constitutional requirement.
Yes, it is.
Okay? And it is because judges have security of tenure. And you have put a very high threshold. If you want to remove a judge, you can't just wake up willy-nilly and say, "Wait, kwani nyumbani, sikutaki." You must follow due process, and due process has to have high threshold of investigation. JSC recommends to the president. President appoints a tribunal, a competent tribunal. Tribunal listens to the judge and the accusers, and then tribunal makes a determination. And the tribunal is a judicial process. Okay?
Yes.
Now there's some twist here. Can the decision of the tribunal be overturned? Apparently it can.
Yes.
The Supreme Court has overturned the decision of a tribunal against a judge who had been fired from the judiciary, Justice Martin Muga, who had served in the Bomet High Court in 2019. There was a case against by NIC Bank. NIC Bank had lodged a case against Mr. Alfred Mutai and Kipsigis Stores because Mr. Alfred Mutai and Kipsigis Stores had taken a loan of 76 million shillings. Yeah. The bank was accusing this judge of bias in his decision, stopping them from auctioning the traders' 14 vehicles to recover the loan and for withholding a ruling for 5 months, which they say made it impossible for the bank to appeal and occasioned them losses. So there's this dispute. Loan, 76 million, not being repaid. Bank wants to do the next thing. We need our money, so we're going to auction your vehicles. Man goes to court. Judge blocks that. And then judge delays the delivery of his judgment for 4 months. Now the bank is saying, in those 4 months, we could not even appeal the decision that had suspended us from auctioning. So during those 4 months, we don't have our 76 million. We don't have the 14 vehicles auctioned. We don't have anything. So we suffered. This matter now became a complaint. It went to the JSC. Tribunal was appointed. The tribunal listened to this particular case. Tribunal said, there was misconduct by this judge. Man has gone to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court judges Mohammed Ibrahim, Smokin Wanjala, Joaquin Dongo, Isaac Lenaola, and William Okoh found that it was unfair for Justice Muga to be subjected to the humiliation of being sacked when the complaints against him did not warrant his removal. The judges ruled that judicial independence is so important that removal of a judge can only be justified where the shortcomings complained of are so serious as to destroy confidence in the judge's ability to properly perform the judicial function. This is what they said. Although judges, like all other citizens, are subject to the rule of law, there is need to protect their decisional independence to enable them apply and interpret the Constitution and legislation without fear of any form of improper interference and influence. So they're saying, look, this judge was doing his job. He issued orders initially saying, do not auction, let's hear this case. They had the case. For whatever reason, administratively, there was a delay in the delivery of the judgment. Now, you as the tribunal, you went beyond your scope. His lawyer argued that the judge was not accorded fair administration process since the file involving the dispute had disappeared and was not available to the tribunal to enable them confirm if he had indeed discriminated against the bank. On claims that the bank lost 76 million shillings due to the judge's delay in issuing the reasons for his decision, the lawyer submitted that they had a chance to appeal at the Court of Appeal if they were not satisfied with the ruling of Justice Muga. The Supreme Court agrees that there was no proven loss or prejudice suffered by the bank as a direct consequence. The truth of the matter was that the bank's counterclaim had not been tried and decided in the High Court. By accepting that the bank suffered prejudice, the tribunal went beyond where it ought to have stopped. That is what the Supreme Court judges said.
Essentially what we are hearing, what I am hearing, is that when you have a matter that needs to be determined and the arbiter is our legal system, whether you go to a tribunal, whether you go for arbitration, whether you go for mediation, at the end of the day, the buck stops with the Supreme Court. Yeah. When you go through that entire chain, it gets the High Court, Appellate Court, Supreme Court. Which means even on matters that relate to our election and the IEBC, once again, court.
Yep.
The point of last resort, court.
Court.
Here, no wonder the writers of the Constitution wanted the courts to be independent.
Yes. Yeah. And this one now also puts this tribunal, as it starts sitting, the Mombingogi tribunal, they'll be like, okay, what's our... Yes. What's our jurisdiction here? Do we have jurisdiction over some of these matters or not as a tribunal? Is this a matter that should come to a tribunal or not? Anyway.
That people are taken to the tribunal is a good thing. It means we have a system that actually works.
It's working.
Yes.
Wheels are moving.
Yes.
City?
We're talking about elections. Today, I'm on a political strain.
Okay.
There are countries around the world whose democracy is something that is worthy of very serious study. One such country is Israel. I say so because when you consider the number of times they have elections, and the number of times the merry-go-round you see with one leader coming in, another one going out, this coalition coming in, another coalition going out. Israel has a similar situation. Their current prime minister, a gentleman by the name of Naftali Bennett, remember how he came in as prime minister?
Yep.
The gentleman called Netanyahu, who had been prime minister. Netanyahu had issues, many.
Yes.
Many. Bennett, it was said, was his right-hand person.
Yes.
But this being that and politics being what it is, and things moving this way and that way, Bennett ended up being prime minister. And one Mr. Netanyahu...
out.
Precisely. It looks like one Mr. Bennett is now facing a similar situation.
Oh, no.
Yes. The gentleman...
Has it even lasted 2 years?
Oh, no. You're taking this matter far. Okay? You have a coalition, even if it's 2 weeks and they have to change, they'll change. Just observe and look at how democracy works here. Just look and see.
Okay, tell us the story of Mr. Bennett and his problems.
This story here, all you require is a member or two in your coalition moving away and it's done.
Coalition collapses.
You're back to the ballot.
You lose the majority.
Bas. Such a thing is in the offing. A gentleman by the name of Zenawi Zoabi has departed, meaning part of the coalition. So Naftali Bennett is facing the same situation that his friend and former boss was facing.
Yes.
So
what he engineered on his against his boss.
It has happened. Okay? Now, why have I picked on this story and why am I being minimalist about the details? Because I want to focus on the one thing.
Yes.
Coalitions and how they work and how dicey it is to balance that particular formation. How it is you need to meet the desires of your partner and how easy it is for the partner to be disgruntled and then to move. And the reason is because they are aware they can join another coalition. So even as we get into this coalition business, I'm simply saying the future is before us. We can see it. Study Israel.
Let me tell you, Israel is one of the reasons why I am opposed to Kenya going a parliamentary route. This is it. The way we see our politics in Kenya. And then you have your coalition and then the government shall be formed from parliament. Until you come together as coalitions and you shall form a government. Kenya cannot have a government that lasts 2 months. Every 2 months there'll be a new coalition that comes in, a new prime minister comes in, you talk this will be our cycle. Kenya, this one of us. Look at the number of political parties we have now. Just because of that, because of people feeling that they want to be independent. Look at the number of independent candidates that we have. And then now you say that we're going to parliament, you form a coalition that will elect a prime minister, and the prime minister will be the head of government.
Where?
And then a guy just said, we had agreed that I was going to be chief minister.
Yeah, so
I'm not getting chief minister. By the way, I'm walking out of this coalition. Collapse.
One Mr. Bennett's problem was that 2 members of his own party had actually moved out. Yani they said, yes. But Eric, the point you make is an extremely valid one, because it requires it speaks of a certain level of maturity and understanding things. And looking at our country, you wonder if this happened, it would cause instability.
It would.
Total.
It would cause some serious instability.
Hapana. Israel and Japan, those two. Observe. Ndo.
Sir? So, there was the little matter of former police spokesman who decided that he wanted to compete for the Siaya gubernatorial seat.
Did he?
He did. Okay. Controversy now is surrounding former police spokesman Charles Owino's move to withdraw as former Rarieda MP Nicholas Gumbo's running mate in the Siaya governor's race. Details have emerged about how talks between senior government officials led to the return of the veteran police officer to the service. His supporter says he succumbed to ODM's pressure to bow out of the race. For a man who had set his eyes on politics but changed goalposts in more than one occasion in the building up to the August 9th polls, the decision has left many puzzled. He found himself back into the National Police Service after declaring he had opted for early retirement. Police sources told The Standard Mr. Owino is considered an asset in the service and that his application for early retirement was declined by the National Police Service Commission. Months after he's said to have given his resignation or retirement, and they've decided, no, we want you here. Mr. Owino returned after Inspector General of Police Hilary Mutyambai recalled him to serve as the Kenya national focal point on small arms and light weapons. Some supporters who decamped with him to Mr. Gumbe's fold when he dropped his ambitions for governor say he betrayed them, but others say his exit will have little effect. A senior government official yesterday said he's a top officer who has served the country well in different capacities. Attempts to reach Mr. Owino, of course, remain futile as his phone went unanswered. Earlier this year, he intensified his bid for Siaya governor and joined Raila Odinga's ODM, where he was received by a Lego Songa party chairman, or Wenjo Umida. After it became clear that ODM opted to issue Siaya Senator James Orengo with a direct ticket, Mr. Owino jumped ship. There we go. These coalition issues we're talking about. And joined Gumbo in the United Democratic Movement. Did you know there was a party called UDM?
Yes.
Legal experts say it is possible for him to return to the service if the service declined his application to retire early. So now you see how these things can just fit in place.
Some game.
Legal said if they refuse his retirement, then it's still okay for him to come back. So now, conveniently,
he's back.
They have refused his retirement.
The procedure for exiting the disciplined forces is not the same as that you just wake up and leave.
No, you don't.
You have to give notice that I intend to leave the service.
This is your
unless you're
notice
being
of
summarily
intent.
being yes. And they've got to accept it. And then now, after 3 months, you come and say, all right, do you remember I applied? So what do you say? Can I go?
And they tell you no.
They can tell you, no, we need you. We are in the middle of some serious security issue. We need
you're not going
all
anywhere.
boots on the ground.
And that's it.
Yep. And that's the reason why they cannot just say it. You wake up today and to my SMS, Afande.
No,
but this being politics that we are referring to.
This is where that headline questions over Owino's return to police service.
Did he?
Did he really?
Did he?
Or did he not?
Did he what?
Was he really gunning for this seat or was he not? Or was he just playing the mix and match and the let's stir up the pot sort of like situation because it's politics after all?
Was he testing the waters?
Testing the waters. I had heard long ahead of this that he had intentions and that he had spoken of those intentions. Intentions. Most serious politicians play a long game and they have their props. And they have their minions. And you move them at will. You move them forward, you move them sideways, you make them jump a little hoop here and there. Anyway, that's my mind wandering here and there.
Yeah. And the truth, like you say, with time, truth
come out.
Bear.
It'll out.
Yeah.
It will.
So you saw the story of the man who was shot dead.
Yes.
While driving a vehicle on Mirema Drive in Nairobi, right? And it was all over social media. I mean, somebody is just driving and then someone's waiting for you and... what was happening? The DCI has unleashed a dossier. If you went to the Directorate of Criminal Investigations Facebook page or the DCI Twitter page, Our guys sat down and they're like, his story. Wacha tuandike his story.
Once upon a time.
Way. Listen to just the first 3 paragraphs. Following the daylight killing of a man in Mirema on Monday afternoon, detectives based at DCI's Corporate Communications and Public Affairs Unit have been combing DCI's criminal database to interrogate who Samuel Muga Muvota truly was. The details are shocking. His files stink to high heaven.
No, but this guy.
I love it.
No, this is the people who write this. Goodness gracious, please
Utamu.
carry on.
The findings have revealed skeletons in the man's dark life, dating as far back as 2011, when Muvota started stealing from victims at ATMs in various banks and graduated to a full-time thug who hired beautiful, expensive-looking women and deployed them as drink-spiking agents at various high-end entertainment spots. By the time he met his death on Monday after 6 bullets were pumped into his body by an unknown assailant, Muvota, who headed an ATM and SIM swapping syndicate that operated like a mafia. The story has just, what is it? Come on.
No, pole too. Pole. Pause ahead there.
Muvota, who headed an ATM and SIM swapping syndicate that operated like a mafia criminal organization, was a multi-millionaire with several real estate properties scattered across the city, a fleet of vehicles, and 7 wives, all living lavishly from proceeds of stupefied patrons in clubs most frequented by revelers. Interestingly, none of the wives suspected that Muvota lived a double life. So lucrative was his trade that he had recruited over 50 beautiful women into his Pishori administering trade that he had led to broken marriages, left many men admitted in hospitals and others dead from an overdose of a stupefying drug only identified as Tamu, supposed to be administered to patients suffering from mental disorders. They go on and on and on and on and say this man, he started off as just stealing, robbing from ATMs. Then now he graduated into this. And there's a story in the Standard today that actually now talks about his wife, one of the wives. In her marriage that lasted more than 10 years, Miss Winnie Wamboi, the wife of Mirema Drive murder victim Samuel Muvota, never knew even one of her spouse's friends. When we met, she said, he told me that he was a former police officer. I never saw any pictures of him in uniform or at his workstation, said the 34-year-old Wamboi. She also says he never allowed her to call or text him. The instruction was, from the word go, he used to say, nikikutaka, nitakutafuta. This is to his wife. Don't call me, don't text me. Don't look for me.
I'll look for you.
I will look for you. You stay there, you live in a lavish place, live on Kenyatta Road in Kiambu, live here, live well. Don't ask me questions, okay? When he was shot dead, in his vehicle were 3 IDs, and the 3, a university lecturer, a Thika-based businessman, and a resident of Roysambu Kasarani constituency, said they were victims of drugging. Their IDs were among 7 found in the Honda CRV that Mr. Muvota was driving. According to the police statement, the wife never took interest in knowing more about Muvota's professional life. So let's talk about the men, the victims, all right? Number 1, university lecturer. The lecturer said he was having drinks with his friends when a woman selling men's underwear approached them. She asked if she could speak with me privately. I don't know what happened thereafter, he says. He woke up the following morning in a room. His mobile phone, ATM card and ID were missing. After reporting the theft and renewing his line, he learned that he had lost 370,000 shillings. The Thika businessman was at a bar in Kahawa West when 3 women asked if they could join him. As we continued taking our drinks, one asked me to send her 1,000 shillings on the phone. He woke up the following morning in a lodging, naked. He learned that 270,000 shillings was missing. The suspects had borrowed digital loans using my details. The 3rd victim is a resident of Roysambu. He says he's driving home. He saw a woman appearing stranded on the roadside on May 15th. He asked her, can I give you a lift? Can I buy you a drink? Later, we booked a room. I don't know what happened thereafter. I woke up the next morning naked. I had lost my ID, my ATM. Some 170,000 shillings had been withdrawn from my mobile and my bank accounts. All of them linked to Mr. Who? Muvota. Let's go to the news. Tafakari hayo. This world, my friend.
Sodom and Gomorrah.
Nairobi ni shamba la mawe. A very good morning to you. 8:07 a.m.
Spice up your life. The latest news from around the world.
Good morning, this is Newswire. Dennis Aseto. President Uhuru Kenyatta has suspended Justice Said Juma Chitembwe and appointed a tribunal to investigate allegations of misconduct against the judge. This after the president received a petition from the Judicial Service Commission on the removal from office of Justice Chitembwe, Judge of the High Court of Kenya. The president notes that the petition contains grave allegations regarding the conduct of the judge and further notes that allegations of gross misconduct on the part of the judge erode the faith of Kenyans in the fair administration of justice. Now, Justice Martin Muga can breathe a sigh of relief after the Supreme Court quashed a decision to remove him from office by a tribunal appointed by the president. The tribunal had found Justice Muga guilty of misconduct following 2 complaints lodged with the Judicial Service Commission against him. The first complaint was raised by the firm of Onyinkwa and Company Advocates on behalf of their client NIC Bank Limited, while the second complaint was filed by the firm of Mukite Musangi and Company Advocate on behalf of their client Kenya Commercial Bank Limited. Now, the forgery case against Kapsaret Member of Parliament Oscar Sudi has taken a new twist after the court established that the legislator is not out of the country as alleged. The MP Thursday for the third time did not show up in court, with his lawyers claiming he is undergoing treatment in Turkey. Lawyers Thomas Ruto, Collins Kiprono and Giorgio Jacoya frantic efforts to obtain travel documents to prove that their client had indeed travel flopped. Jacoya, who is also a presidential aspirant, told the court his co-counsel was at the embassy securing the documents, forcing the court to temporarily adjourn. When the hearing resumed, the team was only able to present a medical report whose authentication was in question. Lawyer Kiprono had a difficult time confirming whether Austin Okoh, a signatory of the diagnosis, was a doctor. Upon further interrogation by the visibly riled Anti-Corruption Court Chief Magistrate Felix Kombo, Suda's lawyers said the flight may have either been delayed or cancelled. The hearing continues with the first witness taking to the stand. The court Wednesday declined the petition by the defense to have the case pushed. And President Uhuru Kenyatta is scheduled to address the World Health Assembly for the first time, where he is expected to outline how Kenya has been at the forefront in championing health issues globally. Speaking ahead of the President Kenyatta's official visit to Switzerland, Ambassador Andrew Kiurani said, "This is important in terms of showing the support that Kenya has for issues which will be discussed with the Assembly on the issue of health." The 75th World Health Assembly will commence on the 22nd and is expected to end on the 28th of May in Geneva, Switzerland. Now, the Kenya Kwanza Alliance has vowed to address the plight of police officers in the country to minimize cases of corruption in the service of elected in August. Speaking at the Rift Valley Sports Club during the Nakuru County Bottom-Up Economic Forum, Mathira MP and recently nominated Deputy President William Ruto's running mate Rigathi Gachagua said they will improve police officers' salaries and ensure they are paid commensurate amounts with the job they do. Gachagua said police officers are paid poorly, treated inhumanely, and their grievances ignored, hence the rising cases of corruption in the service. And Azimio la Umoja presidential running mate Martha Karua has called for tolerance during the campaign rallies ahead of the August polls. Karua, who led the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition team in a campaign tour of Chogoria and Chuka in Tharaka Nithi County, urged political opponents to exercise mutual respect irrespective of the divergent ideologies, saying the August polls will come and go, but Kenyans will still need each other. The Kenya leader, who was accompanied by Agriculture CS Peter Munya and Muranga Woman Representative Sabina Shege, among others, said that Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition will fight corruption once it assumes power. And maize farmers from Uasin Gishu County and Elgeyo Marakwet County are staring at a potential food scarcity following the invasion of the destructive fall armyworms that have destroyed large farms. Farmers are now calling for immediate intervention from the relevant authorities. Even as the country grapples with an acute shortage of maize resulting from the recent drought, the infestation of pests is posing yet another threat of food insecurity. The destructive fall armyworms have been reported in Sergoit area, Moiben, where maize plantations have been destroyed. The affected farmers are now calling for urgent intervention by both the national and county governments. And African Union member states have passed a resolution requiring that all COVID-19 vaccines assistance and those being procured by individual countries be sourced from within the continent. Africa CDC Acting Director Dr. Ahmed Okoh said the move is aimed at creating demand for vaccines being produced locally, as well as ensuring that the continent has a sustainable production of vaccines as part of early preparedness. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseta. Good morning.
It's building up on the Thika Superhighway this morning after 7 o'clock. Don't know what happens, but we're looking at traffic well past the Outer Ring Junction today, heading out towards the Pangani Underpass. It's also building up on Kiambu Road, and we're looking at that action happening on Limuru Road. There must be something magical about the hour 7, because thereafter is when everything appears out of nowhere. Ring Road Western's also building up. Waiaki Way, not too much of an issue this morning at all. Folks who are coming off James Gishuru, however, you get slowed down right there as you try to cross over. The Red Hill Link Road, however, looks pretty good. There's an option to use to get into the city if you want to go the long way. We're seeing some traffic coming off Ngong Road, just as you get to the junction, but then also going towards Kingara Road. But it should be all right then heading down out towards the city mortuary roundabout. Langata Road piled up, packed completely, bumper to bumper all the way to the T-Mall interchange, and there we have some traffic going towards Rilo Dinga Way, but nothing too painful at the moment. Let's keep an eye on things and talk on SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text 40127.
This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debate, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist.
Good morning.
Newshound,
it's coming up to 8 minutes after 7. This
up,
is Kenya's biggest conversation
This
on the
is
20th day of March 2022. Andrew Franklin woke up this morning and he was like, yeah, we are still in March. You know why? He received his power bill. Instead of coming down, it's still going up.
And the promise was?
End of first quarter,
15%.
15% reduction.
We saw the 15%.
The first 15. End of first quarter, second 15% reduction in the cost of power. Now that is what was supposed to have happened by the end of the first quarter. Now, because we have not seen any or heard any announcement that power is getting cheaper by 15%, see, we have to wait
Until it's March.
Which means the month is on hold.
Yes. Everything stays on hold until, things happen. Okay? Yeah. So we'll be talking about tea shortly. Tomorrow is International Tea Day. Before we introduce the guests in the studio and talk about tea, let's hear the day's proverb. City?
Yes, today's proverb is from Uganda and it has very little relation to tea. It's more a dog with the bone. Okay? A dog with a bone. And you're here. A dog with a bone in the mouth cannot bite you.
A dog with a bone in the mouth.
In the mouth.
Cannot bite you.
And not a dog looking at a bone. That one will definitely bite you.
Not a dog bearing a bone.
No, not that one. A dog with the bone in the mouth will
Cannot
not bite you.
So what are they saying here, the Ugandans? Feed your dog. Keep your dog's mouth busy. Maybe, right? Let's introduce our guest so we also get to hear their perspective on this. From Kiptagich Tea Estates Limited, we have the general manager with us in the studio, Anthony Moy, and the sales and marketing manager, Nicholas Cheruiyot. Gentlemen, good morning. Welcome to Nairobi.
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning.
It's good to have you on the show. You're from Kiptagich Tea Estates. Before you tell us about that, Mr. Moy, when you hear that proverb from Uganda, a dog with a bone in the mouth will not bite you. I saw you smiling and thinking, okay, you're trying to interpret this one. What came to mind?
Well, proverbs have different meanings depending on the context where they are. And when you talk of a dog with a bone in the mouth, obviously, literally, it means that the mouth is busy chewing the bone. So it will not bite you.
So the context is make sure the dog has a bone.
It has a bone in the mouth. In the mouth.
Yes.
Yes.
Nicholas, what do you read out of this?
I think what I read from this is that someone busy cannot do anything else, or he will concentrate on that thing. He cannot do anything because he's chewing something.
Mm-hmm. Keep them busy.
Keep them busy.
They will not bite you.
Yes.
See what politicians do to us now.
Essentially, you are suggesting that they're not busy enough.
The politicians
they're not busy enough.
Politicians are keeping us busy with all these stories.
So we're the ones who are being kept busy.
Yes. We have a bone in the mouth. We are not able to bite them. They will do their thing. Okay, welcome to Nairobi. I keep telling you this because you're from Kiptagich. Where exactly is the Kiptagich Tea Estates?
Kiptagich Tea Estates Limited is in Nakuru County, Kulesoi South Sub-County. We are 120 kilometers from Nakuru town and 60 kilometers to the west of Moro Township. Yes.
How big, when you call yourself tea estate?
Yes.
How big is this farm?
Kiptagich Tea Estate is one of the largest tea estates in the country. And in terms of the acreage, we have over 2,450 acres. And out of these, 1,200 acres are planted with tea. The rest of it, we plant trees for use in our boilers. And the rest of it, about 30%, is natural ecosystems because we want to conserve the environment. Yes.
How old is this estate and when did you start production?
The estate is quite old. It started way back in 1970s. And but for the factory, that is planting of the tea. But for the factory, it was commissioned in 1995. Yes.
So there's a factory?
There is the tea estate where we plant the tea. And then there is the factory for processing that tea.
Okay.
These are two different aspects.
Okay.
There is the tea growing, and then there is the tea processing. But now you need the two. You need the farm to produce the tea, the green leaf, and then you need the factory now to convert that to the tea in the drinkable form that we know of.
Okay.
Yes.
You know, oftentimes when you talk about the tea, we all assume that we know what tea is. And I think it's always important. On this show, we like being clear on definitions. Let's define tea. What is tea?
Tea can be defined by different people in different ways and depending on where they come from. But for us to be very specific, you cannot say anything is tea unless it is that leaf derived from a plant we call Camellia sinensis. That is the...
Sorry. Camellia who?
Camellia sinensis. This is the scientific name for the tea plant.
Okay.
So anything that does not come from that particular plant, it is not tea.
So these things you say hibiscus tea, those are not tea.
Those that we call the hibiscus tea is trade name because at times they could be blended with the tea or at times people get used to certain types of infusions. Actually, in tea trade, we call them infusions, not tea. But because they are blended now, some people tend to use it in the trade, this is hibiscus tea. But if it is not derived from that plant, the tea plant, the one we have called Camellia sinensis, then it is not tea.
So when you hear of I'm referring to now the generic and term or the terms that we laymen use.
Yes.
South Africa, something called rooibos.
Yes.
Does it come from this same
camellia?
Anatoka camellia pia.
Oolong.
They're coming from the same family, but now the method of production is different. Because when you see rooibos is a bit of, it's not like CTC they currently produce in Kenya.
What is CTC?
Okay, in tin, because you said it's a well-established process, and then there are tea types. You see, there is CTC, there is orthodox, and then there is, of course, the specialty, the one Antonia said about the hibiscus. So when you talk about CTC, is the actually most highly consumed tea in Kenya is basically CTC. That is the process where we say cut, tear, and curl. That's undergo that process.
To add on to that, the tea, once you get that tea leaves now, the way that tea is processed, and there are various ways of processing that tea, you will now come out with the various types of teas. Okay. Still tea, but various types. For example, when you talk of the conventional way of making tea, there are machines that he has referred to as CTC. So you make tea using that process, you come out with various types of teas. There is also what we call orthodox tea. Orthodox tea will also be made, but in a different way, with a different type of equipment. And at times, we have also what we call the specialty tea, which at times does not even need any machinery. You just use your hands, it's an art, and you come out with the tea. So when you get all these assorted types of teas, at times you'll be asking, is this really tea? But at the end of the day, it is tea.
That's very interesting, because I'm just trying to do the picture in my mind, the videos that we've seen, or like when we pass by and we see the tea pickers picking up the little leaves.
Yes.
So when we see these different teas, then the assumption is that it's a different bush, it's a different plant. So are you saying that the little leaves that you're picking off, the different teas that we get are as a result of the process?
It is the process.
Okay.
The process makes all the difference. The same tea that today, if all of us are plucking that in the farm, you come with your basket, I come with mine, Nicholas comes with his.
Two and a bud.
At the end of the day, how I process that tea, I will come up with a different product.
So that's
the
how you
green
get black
is the same.
tea or green
I will get
tea?
it black or green. Because when you talk of, for example, black tea, it has gone through a certain process. But when you talk of green tea, some steps have been omitted, if we can put it that way, so that you are preventing this same green tea from turning black. Yes. There are others that can also be partially processed. Instead of now becoming really black, you can have it midway. You can have green, you can have another one, oolong, in between, and then you can end up with still another one, depending on which step did you stop the processing.
Mr. Moy, you know when you say black tea in Kenya, ni chai bila maziwa. So that is black tea. What is black tea?
In the tea trade, when you talk of black tea, that is tea that has been processed through the factory. It is an elaborate process where you start with a process that we call the withering. Withering, you are trying to reduce the amount of water that is in the tea that we have said we have plucked from the farm. And it takes quite a bit of time, say a minimum of about 8 hours. From there, it goes now to the process of cutting. Once you cut that, the way he has mentioned about CTC, you now go to a process we call fermentation. Not in the fermentation of the alcoholic fermentation, no. In the trade, it is called fermentation, but it is an oxidation process. Once you are through with this oxidation, then you go now to the process we call drying. From drying, you now end up with the sorting. Sorting is the same as grading. Once now you go through this process, you end up now with the black tea. If at the cutting time, you did not want to go the entire process of fermentation, you can now come up with green tea.
So green tea is one that has skipped the fermentation stage.
The green tea will have skipped the fermentation stage, and you'll have to treat it in a manner that we call, for example, blanching, such that that fermentation does not happen. In tea, technically, the fermentation starts immediately you pluck that leaf from the bush. The fermentation process starts, but you need to control that so that you don't go the entire process.
How do you determine what to pluck?
You determine what to pluck because the industry standard requires that you are plucking 2 leaves and a bud, because this is the one that the highest concentration of the chemicals that are responsible for giving you good quality tea. The lower you go, then the poorer the tea will be.
And what is it that we use as a standard to determine whether the tea is of high quality or low quality?
There is a category of tea professionals we call the tea testers. And the tea testers is somebody who is trained. There is the art part of it, and then there is the science part of it. Because you have to understand all these issues about the flavors, so that once you get that cup of tea onto your mouth, on the tongue, you are able to distinguish certain characteristics of tea, where you'll say, this one is plus, this one is plus, this one is plus, but this one is minus, this one is minus. In the sense that, even by the visual appearance of the leaf that you have looked at, you'll be able to say, this tea is not attractive. So a tea tester will be able to tell you, this tea has been properly made or it has not been properly made.
So why then do you blend tea? If we've already understood that you go through this process and then this process produces this, so why?
The main reason why people blend tea is because of costing, and also because of you want to get a distinctive taste. As Anthony has said, there are different types of tea, and these different types of teas, in terms of infusion, give you liquors in different percentages. They are not the same. So that is now where the blending part of it comes in. Yes.
So and again, to add on to that, at times you find that you'll be having teas from different parts of the world, and there is a customer who would like a different experience with the tea. What you do is you realize that if you get tea from, say, a country X or a country Y, or even from the same country but from different factories, like now I have been in tea for the last, say, 30 years or close to that. If you get tea from, say, a certain region of Kenya, it is slightly different, and it has some specific characteristics that are different from tea from another part of Kenya. So if you now come up with a blend, you might find that, and also for business purposes, because you might be producing very expensive tea, you find someone would not like to, would not afford that tea, so you have to ensure you blend to come up with a blend that is affordable and at the same time good quality tea to drink.
All right.
Yes.
Last question for now.
For now.
For now.
Yes.
So when you say you blend teas, like specifically now in Kenya, are there certain teas that you use to blend with others? Are there some teas that are preferred as good? My term here, not yours, a good blender. This one is what we use in order to get the sort of teas that we want, or give us the right sort of mix that we want.
I did not get you clear.
All right.
Yes.
Si chai ni chai.
Chai ni chai.
All right. Now.
Until you realize chai si chai.
Chai, exactly. Now, we say we are blending. Okay.
Yes.
So now, this one comes from this area, has this flavor, but you talked of quality.
Yes.
Now, the tasters have told you this one is of a high quality.
Yes.
So, are we going to take this tea that we consider to be high quality to blend with the others, or are we going to blend these ones which have a low quality together? How are we going to determine where each tea is in the pecking order when we come to blending?
When you are blending, you'll be blending it from a perspective. If you are blending it from a perspective of a trader or a businessman, you'll be trying to look at your profit margins. There will be very expensive tea, for example, but with a certain characteristics.
Yes.
And if you are to offer that tea in the market, some people will be saying that price is not affordable. So what you'll also do is you'll try to not necessarily to bring down, but to blend with the tea that is also very close to this, not very expensive, so that this price is affordable to the person, the consumer.
I'm going to tell you why I'm asking this question. I've often been told of a tea called PF1.
Yes.
Yes.
What on earth is PF1, and why is it called PF1? Why is it not DTW?
Now, the origin of tea is in China, and therefore most of the names will be having some names that tend to originate. The origin is Chinese in one.
Yes.
For example, when you talk of the normal CTC production, there are 7 grades that comes out of that tea. Normally, the first grade is called BP1. The BP1 are a bigger border particles, which is broken PECO 1. Broken PECO. PECO is PEKOE.
Oh.
PEKOE.
Yes, broken PECO.
Which language is it?
Sounds Chinese.
That is now originally Chinese, but it has been domesticated until we now come. Now, to your specific question, what is PF1? PF1 is a PECO Fannings 1. The same spelling for PECO, then Fannings, FANNINGS. Fannings. Like PECO Fannings. Like Fannings. Yes.
So it's one of the 7.
It is one of the 7 grades. There are others now down there, like the PECO dust. Then there is dust 1. Then you have Fannings. Then you have BMF. And then you have dust. Dust 1 and dust are the same teas, but one is cleaner than the other one. When you talk of clean, one does not have a vumbi in it, whereas the other one is very black and clean.
Are there people who prefer?
That,
Yes. Sorry.
To add on that, the BF1 and the PB1, they are considered as primary grades.
Why?
Because in terms of, we are saying international standards, they are considered the highest in terms of quality.
The whole, in the whole world of tea.
Yes.
Okay.
And specifically, if you are talking of CTCs now.
CT.
Yes.
You have not gone to orthodox.
Yes.
Specialty. What is done to it to make it premium? Because I would assume that it comes from the same batch as this dust 1 dust.
Does all come from Camellia
sinensis. It does all
sinensis.
come from 2 leaves and a bud.
Yes.
So what has been done to this premium tea to make it world class?
As I explained that after you have gone the process of drying, because you have to dry the tea to make it in a drinkable form, there is what I said grading. We call it grading or sorting. When you are sorting the teas, once you process the tea, and I have said it comes out with the 7 grades, you have to segregate these grades. They are totally distinct from the same 2 leaves, the same Camellia sinensis, but because of the machinery used in grading, you'll find some particles will be bigger and broader than others. So the first rank you do is in terms of the grade particulate nature, big, small, like that. So that BP1 is bigger in size, followed by PF1, followed by PD, followed by dust 1. Then what you are calling the secondary grades are the ones, because when you process this tea, that 2 leaves and a bud, the lower tip is likely to produce some teas with the fiber. So these fibers, or some items that will be looking like small sticks, that is now the one will form the other secondary grades, which we are calling the fannings, we are calling the BMF, and then the dust. So
are there
this
people
one will
who
be
prefer?
superior.
Are there people who prefer dust?
Yes.
They're like,
There are people who
I
prefer
want to
dust.
take dust. What do we take in this country on an average?
Dust. Dust.
There are markets that prefer dust, secondary grades, and the BMFs.
Why?
Most of the things, I think, we attribute this to water, the type of water, because you see some countries have hard water and then some countries have the soft water. So when you go to Asian countries, this like the Somali countries, they will always prefer to take the PMFs, the dust ones, because they give out more liquors. They are even very strong because of that, the particulate nature.
The second aspect
chai
is also about the cost. Chai too. Now that's where the issue comes in.
Even the cost.
You also realize the cost because these primary grades are more expensive than what we call the secondary grades. So if your pocket definitely is not very comfortable, you will still want to take this chai, about chai.
You have talked about what tea do we take?
Yes, that's what I want. I want to go back to that question. Kenya, when you go to any home, karibu chai.
Yes.
What are we taking?
In Kenya, we take all these types of teas, but it will depend on how selective are you in terms of choosing. When you go to the supermarket, all of these teas will be there. And what you choose now is now what we can now zero down to. Yes. What did you choose and what is it? To a layman, chai ni chai. But for me, as a tea professional, I will be able, even when I open the packet, I will tell you this tea is really not the tea that we talked of.
In terms of percentages.
Yes.
Okay. What does the ordinary Kenyan take? Are we taking BP1 or are we taking Dust 3?
It is a blend. Kenya, most of the teas that you get in the supermarket, these are blended teas. Except when you now go to a specific advantage of one factory, like Kiptagich, where we shall be producing a single grade that we are going to sell, and that is the Assis Premium Tea, which is a pure PF1. Without any blend, without any addition, without any subtraction.
How expensive
and that makes
is
a
it
difference.
Comparatively?
Not very expensive. It is affordable.
It is one of the affordable brands.
Yes.
And it is actually, what is happening right currently in the Kenyan market, people are very keen now on what they are consuming. So from that perspective and understanding the consumer, we are able now to bring that experience and give you the best. Because as we pick the tea, we process and we package. Yes.
Let's take a break. After we come back from the break, now we've heard about tea, we have a better understanding or maybe something clear on the issue of tea. We will go to Kiptagich. They are now producing tea. They'll tell us, so what is this tea that you are producing, and are you packaging, and what kind of value addition are you doing? All those conversations after this break. It's Kenya's biggest conversation at 7:30. Our guests this morning are tea experts. I don't know. Wine are called sommeliers, the others are called, what do you call tea?
Tea master.
Tea master.
Voila. Okay.
So we have tea masters in the studio with us. Anthony Moy is a general manager, and Nicholas Cheriot is a sales and marketing manager from Kiptagich Tea Estates Limited. We'll be back shortly. We'll also be telling you about tomorrow, which is International Tea Day, and why it's important.
Thank you.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Are you looking for employment and are tired of sending job applications without any response? Gone with no response? Tarmacking is now a thing of the past thanks to Skiza. Dial *811 *1 *21 hash and subscribe to a ringback tune that reflects your qualifications only for 1.5 bob a day. And your callers will know your credentials and send you opportunities they come across.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah!
You're listening to Spice FM.
Standard Group's Farm Kenya initiative is the umbrella entity for all agriculture-related channels, activities and investments. The media platforms under the Farm Kenya initiative include the Smart Harvest Weekly Pull-Out in the Saturday Standard, KTN Farmers TV, a 24-hour agribusiness TV station, Maisha Kilimo, a weekly agriculture show on Radio Maisha, AgriTalk on SpiceFM's morning show The Situation Room, and Grind na Agribiz on Vibes Radio morning show Morning Vibes. Find us online at www.farmers.co.ke, an integrated website that creates and aggregates agri-content, hosts a digital marketplace, and wide range of agri-data. Other platforms include specialized events such as the annual Mkulima Expo, quarterly Farmers Kenya Breakfast, and dedicated social media platforms at Farm Kenya.
Mostly cloudy conditions at 17 in Nairobi, highs of 26 and lows of 14 today. At 15 degrees, it's sunny in Nakuru, highs of 25 and lows of 14. And it's raining in Nyeri at 16, highs of 24 and lows of 14. 15 degrees and sunny conditions in Eldoret, highs of 25 and lows of 13. And we have rain in Mombasa at 26, highs of 31 and lows of 24. Malindi raining as well at 26, now highs of 31 and lows of 25, while it's partly sunny at 18 in Kisumu. We'll see highs of 29 and lows of 18. Kakamega is sunny at 17, highs of 28 and lows of 15. Looking out into Kampala, it's cloudy at 19, highs of 28 and lows of 18, while light rain continues in Dar es Salaam at 24, highs of 31 and lows of 23. 10 degrees and clear in Johannesburg, highs of 17 17 and lows of 10. And it's cloudy in Lagos at 25 with sea highs of 31. 31 will also be the high in Kinshasa, where it's currently cloudy at 24.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise.
You're listening to Spice
All right, so
FM.
a few minutes after 7:30, we're looking at heavy traffic on Langata Road getting out towards the interchange and then connecting with Rilo Dinga Way. We're also seeing that that's not too bad as you then connect with Gong Road, a little bit of traffic here and there. Jogo Road really tight as you get towards Landis. Landis then at that exit going towards Camp Kunji is where you see the most traffic at this point. Let's take a look at what's coming off of Wayaki Way. Not too bad today. James Gishura actually quite packed. Crossing over Wayaki Way through to the Red Hill Link Road. Not too bad. There's an option for you to get into the city. Limu Road, in and outbound traffic has already started. And we're looking at in and outbound traffic on Kiambu Road. It's actually quite heavy. Inbound and outbound on the Thika Superhighway this morning. It's Friday, so maybe that explains some of that movement in that northerly direction. All right, so what else are we seeing? Bottleneck at that point. Pangani going towards that area. Don't forget, from Monday, if you're going to Arvings Kodek or going to Ngong Road, you will need to get off at the Green Park bus terminus and board just there. Let's talk in a bit. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text 40127.
Spice up your life.
It is 24 minutes to 8. The conversation continues in the Situation Room. This morning is Eric Latiff, Okoh, CT Muga, and our guests are Tea Masters, Anthony Mwai, General Manager of Kiptagich Tea Estates Limited, and Nicholas Cheriot, who is a Sales and Marketing Manager. We have had conversations about tea in the studio, of course, not to this great detail, but, from the point of policy and the presidential directives. Okay, so we have tea has been for a long time one of Kenya's main exports. And then we get to a point where farmers of tea are complaining that they're not getting their returns. And the president says, okay, we need to start thinking about how to get value addition for our tea. What is it that we need to do for value addition? Now, at Kiptagich, you have your own Camellia sinensis covering 1,200 acres, and then you also have a factory. What are you doing in this factory?
Thank you for bringing in that. At Kiptagich Tea Estates Limited, we have had the call for value addition, and we have been packing the tea. Let me just go back. In ordinary factory production, most of the factories that we have in Kenya, most of their tea they sell in bulk. And therefore, when you sell in bulk, you just take it straight to the Mombasa tea auction. Mm-hmm. Now, in Kiptagich, 40% of our tea, minimum, we sell locally by ensuring that we do value addition, and this is where the Assis tea premium comes in. When we produce tea, what we sell at the Mombasa auction, we sell it under the name of marks of Kiptagich Tea Estates. Then there is another one that we call Tinet. There is another one that we call Kongoi. That is what we sell at the auction. But when you come now to the local value addition, where I have said over 40% of our tea is sold locally, we produce now Assis premium tea. And we are taking even this now further, where we are now taking it and producing more varieties to ensure that most of the people who have been taking our Assis tea premium, they have been asking, is it only Assis? What else do you have? And I would like to ask Nicholas to continue with the other part of what is it that you are doing?
Yes, thank you. Now that most of our consumers have really enjoyed our tea, because perhaps you have seen the blending is done by tea masters. So they have really appreciated our product, and they are asking us, what can you do? What else do you have? So we have decided now to introduce other varieties of Assis premium tea, which we are launching it tomorrow 7 new varieties. We are launching tangawizi. Already we have tangawizi, but now we are now bringing in the tea bags aspect. Tangawizi. We are now launching purple tea, uniquely from our factory. We are now going to package green tea, uniquely Kiptagich tea estates. We are now going to pack the black tea and envelope tea bags, just like Assis premium tea. And then we are also going to introduce the lemon tea, and then the one herbal infusion, the hibiscus flower. So all these are just produced the same way like the Assis premium tea, because we are coming to answer that question, that what else do you have apart from Assis premium tea?
You know, it makes for a very interesting conversation. At what point did you as an institution decide that you were going to invest in this value addition? Because given the time when you told us the history of this company, yes, I am certain this didn't begin then. So when did it begin, and what is it that made you think along those lines? Beyond the call that had been there, yes, what is it?
This has been going on now for more than 10 years with Assis Premium Tea.
Yes.
But now this new edition is coming as people have enjoyed this Assis. Because initially, the purpose of value addition was that I have mentioned about the Mombasa auction.
Yes.
Sometimes the prices keep on fluctuating and you have no control over that. And therefore we decided for us to improve on the income for the company. And that time we had a lot of problem getting tea locally, because most of the tea was being produced for export. But right now, once we started now providing Assis in the local market, people have now said, oh, you have been giving us very good teas. What else do you have? For example, when you find that you have that good tea, they also wanted to see what other variants can we add to that. And that's why we are coming with the other variants like tangawizi chai. It is the same Assis premium tea, but blended with tangawizi. We are also having the one which is blended with lemon. So these variants are making us to reach a wider client base. Because when you go to a supermarket, you see all the teas, then you're asking, Assis is there, yes. But what about the other one which is with some other flavor? So that is why we are responding to that.
And to add on that, the purple tea is from our farm. The green tea is from our farm. And we took time to process,
yes,
to develop that tea.
Yes.
Because this tea is uniquely Kiptagich.
When you come to tea growing, there are certain aspects that also makes it have an edge. For example, the altitude at which the tea is grown gives it a certain characteristic that you may not find in anywhere else. Kiptagich Tea Estate is located at 2,450 meters above sea level.
Okay, in feet?
2450 meters. 2450 multiplied by 3. You come to around 7,600.
One of the highest.
So this is one of the highest locations in tea growing.
Yes.
So that unique characteristics will tell you when you are getting tea from Kiptagich, whether Assis premium tea or the other variants now with the flavors, you are getting nothing but the best.
So essentially, from what you're saying here, I mean, which also for me is a pet issue, is that from what you've talked about, the circumstances under which this tea is grown, the fact that you're taking time, like you said, to really make sure that you've developed these different varieties, then we're essentially saying that you can compete on a global market and essentially dislodge those global brands that are taking up space on the shelves here in the supermarkets. Because oftentimes Kenyan tea is exported and it comes back onto Kenyan shelves in variants, right?
Yes.
So essentially what we are saying is that for Kenyans who are looking for something different, you actually don't need to go to those other brands, but that you have a Kenyan brand here that is competing on a global scale. Can we confidently say that?
Yes.
Oh yes, we can say that because even as we talk now, our Assis Tea Premium is already available in America in AES Foods. Already, it's in the stores. So we are now going for more markets. We are also making some other teas that we are right now selling in China. We are also selling some other teas that we have also rolled in France. And so the world, there is a lot of future.
Because as to add on that, we can compete very well in the global market because, as you have heard, we are blending purely PF1, and Kiptagich is one of the leading brands, even when you go to Mombasa auction, in terms of quality. Yeah, we are among the leading. So you can be rest assured that we are coming in to revolutionize the market. We are coming in to give a different experience to tea drinkers in Kenya.
Now, even as you say that,
Yes.
at the Mombasa auction, oftentimes we find that there's a premium tea that leaves Kenya's shores, then
Yes.
to go out and then who was going to do whatever.
Yes.
Is there a premium brand that's left behind in Kenya for the local market? Because oftentimes that's what we find, that you're left with, what's left over after the export has happened.
What is left in Kenya is Assis premium tea.
Okay.
What again, as you're talking about the international market, when you have this quality of packaging, because packaging is key. First of all, there is the aspect about holding together that product. And then there is the aspect about maintaining quality for that product. And then there is the handling aspect of that product. If you look at, for example, what you are talking of now, this one, the tea bag. If you look at the paper that has been used, this is a package of international repeat. And you'll be able to get it anywhere. You'll maintain the freshness. You'll maintain the quality. And when you open your tea bag, you'll find it is having a tag. This is to ensure that you are processing, you are making your cup of tea in a very hygienic manner. You will not touch that. You just put it in hot water, and from there, wow.
So I hear you to be saying this, Bonamwai, that the same tea that I will drink in the US is the same tea I can drink in Kenya.
The AES Foods has stored Assis premium tea, and there is nothing else they have done. The way I have packed it in the factory, it is in the American shelf as we talk today.
And it's the same that we'll find in our shelves here.
It is the same tea you'll get in because you are listed in most of Naivasis. We are in a clean shelf and several other top tier supermarkets. What you get there is what you'll get in America. When you come to Kiptagich, we do it first time and we do it well and we do it for all of our customers without saying this is Kenya, this is America. It is the same as his premium tea.
When you were explaining about your value addition, you said 40% of the Kiptagich tea is sold locally.
Locally, yes.
So 60% is exported.
60% exported.
Out of that 60% that goes out,
Yes.
how much of it have you done value addition?
When the tea is going out, we sell at the auction. The buyers buy now from the auction. That is the 60%. Those are the buyers are the one now to do the value addition by either breading or packing in whatever way they do. But for our own factory, the 40% is what we now pack using the small packages. That is the Assis premium. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there a case for you to actually process a lot more and take it to the market as processed? Would it give you a competitive advantage? Would it earn you more?
If we do it by value addition, it gives us better revenue. So, and that is why we are saying, if we have been doing Assis at that 40%, by the introduction of these new variants with the flavors, with the assorted flavors, we will now be in a position to improve this to even maybe 50%. And that will be better returns for the company, better returns also for the country, and better returns for the farmer.
How many new variants again are you introducing? That's you're launching them tomorrow.
Tomorrow,
yes. 21st of May.
Yes.
Which is International Tea Day.
Yes.
Okay. Tell us about what these new additions are and the thinking behind each of them.
We are going to launch 7 new products tomorrow. It is International Tea Day. It's a day to try a new flavor. It's a day to host a tea party.
But not the Boston variety.
Yes.
Not the Boston style.
So the thinking behind these new varieties is that because of that uniqueness, the high altitudes, we are giving now the value proposition to Kenyan market, whereby because of those conditions, we have the liquors for these products are excellent. The liquors, when you liquor it, it gives you color. It gives you also the taste.
What is liquoring?
The liquoring is when you are making tea, you can say this tea is strong. This one is a little bit big, not strong. You can see. So that is the liquoring process.
So
Does it have a strong liquor? Does it have a weak
the
liquor?
process where this particular tea engages with water.
Yes.
And so that byproduct.
Yes.
Okay.
To produce that color,
Yes.
that is now the liquor.
That's the liquor.
Where the product, which is the tea,
Yes.
now meets with the hot water.
Yeah.
Whatever now comes out,
Yes.
that process is the liquoring process.
So mtoto yao anaitwa liquoring.
Mtoto ni liquor,
Yes.
not liquoring.
Liquoring
When you
process.
go through the process of liquoring, the product is liquor.
Yes. So, for example, the one that we are introducing is because now that we are going to this international level to compete, most of our customers now want tea backed in a chenic manner. That means it has a tag, it is enveloped to maintain the freshness.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. I think also we just, speaking for someone who's inside and then sees it outside as well, I think the realization of really how special tea that is grown in Kenya is compared to those on the continent, for example, who don't have it. It really is a big deal.
Yes.
And so my thing now is in terms of communication about homegrown brands and really what they can do for the country. And then even beyond that to the continent. I think of Canada and their maple leaf. My God, it's really nothing that special. But the noise that they've made about it has been unbelievable. Right? So here we are with a brand that is world renowned, you know. I mean, Kenyan tea itself, before you even start getting to the different companies and organizations. What do you think needs to happen to make it something that is in everybody's mouth and mind? You know, to say, look, here we are, you're able to do it right here in Kenya. You're not sending your tea out to be refined and then brought it back into the country. All of that entire process is happening on Kenyan soil. How much more noise then can you make about it?
For a start, before Nicholas comes in, when you come now to the tea industry in Kenya, the Tea Board of Kenya is the main regulator. They are charged with that responsibility and mandate of ensuring there's the proper marketing of Kenyan teas. And they are creating a lot of forums where we are able to go and showcase our products. Like now, even the day before yesterday, they were in Kericho. And we also had the Afri-Cities Forum in Kisumu. Those are the areas that we as a company, Kiptagich, we are able to ride on. So when you come now to the Tea Board as the regulator, the one charged with the responsibility of marketing and ensuring that the Kenyan teas gets access to all the other corners of the world, they have that big responsibility. And so far, they are doing so well. So what we as a company, we are also doing is to ensure that there is a proper communication, there is a proper advertising, and then there is also proper ways of getting customer feedback. And we have, even when we are doing even from our website, we are able to indicate what products do we have. And then you can easily give us, even those, some of the traders who are trading with us, they have gotten our contacts from there, and we have been able to see, but we still have a lot more to do.
A lot can be done. Anthony, you've been here, you've said close to 30 years in the tea sector, in the tea industry.
Yes,
you have seen the ups, the downs, the ins and outs.
Yes.
You've seen the politics of tea. You've seen it coming to a national level and everything else. Now, if you look at how the tea sector is structured, do you think we are structured in such a way that we can actually continue remaining competitive in the global market? Or are there some tweaks and amendments here and there that are needed for us to remain competitive?
So far, so good. But even whatever is good, it can be made better. In the sense that when you look at, for example, the agriculture, there is need, for example, when you look at tea and the amount of money that it earns as foreign exchange. For your information, some of the countries in the world, they have the Ministry of Tea because of the significance that is attached to tea. If you look at the Kenyan contest, the amount of money also that comes in, the dollar inflow from the tea, it also requires a more serious thought than it currently is. Some of the challenges that have come, some of them are not generated internally. Like now, anything happening even in Ukraine, happening in Pakistan, it will just come home. If you are affected by that, people will be complaining, but in the essence, we are not the root cause. But when it comes, we need to have systems that can safeguard that they do not affect the farmers to an extent you are selling tea below the cost of production. because the cost of production is the biggest problem. It's the elephant in the house.
Yep.
Because when you start selling now below the COP or the cost of production, you'll be having very little remaining to pay that farmer who has toiled and moiled. Even when you're in a private estate, you still have your own cost of production. However, there is need to address right now the issue of the agriculture, the framework, so that we have a policy that will be able to ensure even the tea policy. Then the agriculture policy, the tea policy should be very well aligned such that it's absolutely clear to everyone coming in that this is what is expected of me and this is what is expected of all the other players, because there are several players in the tea industry.
I have to ask this question. You rightfully say the cost of production needs to be looked into. But even as you talk about the industry, are there ways through research that you can find so that this cost that you speak of can actually be brought down?
Yes.
Because it works both ways. One, your profit margins go up, but also the consumer has the benefit of now consuming what they like at a lower cost.
One of the strategies that has been clearly and not very well adopted as it now, but it's coming, is the issue about adoption of technology. The technology will come in form of, for example, harvesting of the tea. We are having the machines that are able to produce, for example, 2 people can produce tea for almost even 60 people. So long as you are able to adopt that, you'll also be able now to bring your cost of production down, because once you are now using the hard plugged, sometimes it is costing you over 10 shillings per kilogram to pay. But when you are using the machine, which you are calling now the mechanical harvester, you are able to bring that cost down to almost 3, 4, 5 shillings at maximum. So that is one aspect that you can be able to use. And in Kiptagich, we have already partly adopted that.
And someone is already asking, so people are losing jobs because of this mechanization?
There you are. That is what you are saying. You have to balance between. You cannot say you will not adopt technology, because the same technology, you now adopt this technology, people may lose jobs in the plucking, but you are creating jobs elsewhere. So the same jobs are available, only that they are not in this form of plucking, but in form of production. Increase production, you employ more people in the factory.
Ebu, give us now the Kiptagich example.
Yes.
When you go into the machine way,
yes,
what are you doing about the people who are losing jobs as tea pluckers?
Initially, what we started with a voluntary early retirement, so that you are targeting the people who have already worked for quite a number of years. They feel they want to retire. You give them ways and means, or you now tell them, if you would like, for example, to take your early retirement, you are able to be given a package. That's one. Then 2, those who felt that they would still like to come, we have now, for example, increase the space where we are now packing the tea at the factory. Initially, we used to be a small line where you are packing the assis. Right now, it's a bigger factory. Some of them have already been absorbed in the packing area. So that way, you are able now to balance out. How do you, even if you lose this side, they can still gain on the other side. That is now the Kiptagich aspect. And on a broader scale, that is also what is also happening in some of the other factories that are encouraging value addition in their own factories.
What I've often wondered about, how does this machine, how does it determine
two and a bud?
That one, I need to understand it.
How does it know two leaves
and a bud? Yes.
Now, these machines, they are of various variants, and you may not handle, even when you talk with the hard plucking of 2 leaves and a bud, you say this is the acceptable level, because you cannot get it 100%, even when you pluck with the hands. Only that when you now go to the machine, you'll be able to set, because the estate that is designed for the machine plucking, you have to ensure that the table is very well formed, such that when the machine gets there, you selectively pick the leaf that is as above a certain level. You ensure that the quality is maintained. You may not get that 100% of the hand plucking, but you'll be very close to that.
You know, the hand plucking is assisted with the eyes.
Yes.
you actually see what you're plucking. But yes.
But it's also now negatively assisted by speed and the need to fill up your bag as fast as possible.
A compromise position such that you are able to take care of the production, you're able to take care of. But for my case, and giving example, even some of the mark that you produce using the machine plucking, there are certain characteristics that also comes in, and you find that mark even selling even better than what you have had done plucking. So sometimes it happens, and this is evidenced by the results.
Okay.
Yes.
Nicholas, in 30 seconds, now that you'll be launching 7 new variants tomorrow of the Assist tea, where can one get it?
Okay. We are launching it tomorrow at Nakuru, Naivas West Side. You can get these products. We are listed in Naivas. We are listed in Clean Shelf. We are also listed in Devcos. That is where our products are. And if you want these products, you can get them through those channels. We are also doing fan selling. Anyone that needs, you can always give us a call, and we deliver it to where they are.
Hey, nice. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us. Anthony Moai is the General Manager of the Kiptagich Tea Estates Limited, and Nicholas Cheriot is the Sales and Marketing Manager. We have learnt a lot this morning about tea and the work that you're doing at the Kiptagich Tea Estates. When you go back there into that cold environment, say hello to your colleagues. Na chai mutatuachia.
We will, and thank you so much for having us today. We are privileged to be with you, and we also want to extend our very warm welcome to all those people who are interested with the Assist Premium. We will be in Westside tomorrow, Nakuru, and that's where we shall be launching our product, and all our welcome. We appreciate all our customers for Assist Premium tea, and anytime is tea time.
Asante. Good morning. It's 8 a.m.
The latest news from around the world. 94.4 SpiceFM.
Justice Martha Okoh has reiterated the judiciary's commitment to equality in the workplace with emphasis on women empowerment. Speaking when she hosted the National Association of Women Judges Uganda at the Supreme Court, Okoh said she resonates with the association's broad objective of benefiting all people in the world by improving the status of women through the fair administration of justice. Present during the meeting were members of the International Association of Women Judges Kenya chapter, as they endeavor to empower women on the bench to overcome gender bias in the laws and their application. SpiceFM Situation Room will be hosting the Chief Justice this morning. Be sure to join in when they have a conversation when it comes to access to justice and the judiciary department in the country now. Religious leaders in the country have urged Kenyans to diligently assess and vet candidates contesting for different seats to make informed choices during the August 9 polls. The Dialogue Reference Group, made up of Muslims, Christians and Hindu religious leaders, advised Kenyans to be wary of leaders who incite them to engage in violence or any other acts of lawlessness before, during and after the elections. The religious leaders asked President Uhuru Kenyatta not to take sides while exercising his right to support candidates of his choice in the upcoming polls. Now, the Directorate of Criminal Investigations now says the middle-aged man who was recently killed in an execution style in Nairobi's Mirema area was operating a criminal enterprise within the city. DCI revealed that Samuel Muvota began his trade more than 10 years ago by stealing from victims at ATMs in various banks before recruiting women who would be tasked with spiking drinks of revelers in high-end entertainment spots around the city. As a result, the deceased suspect, whom the agency claimed had 7 wives at the time of his death, had amassed massive wealth from the process of crime. According to the investigating agency, none of Muvota's wives suspected that he lived a double life. The DCI stated that the slain suspect had recruited over 50 women as part of his criminal gang, which they said had led to the death of some victims and broken others' marriages. The drought situation ravaging most parts of Kenya is bound to get worse, according to the latest weather outlook by the IGAD's Climate Prediction and Application Center. Most parts of equatorial Eastern Africa, where seasonal rains have failed, are expected to remain dry for the next 5 months. The regions affected are the rangelands of eastern Ethiopia, coastal areas of Kenya, and southern Somalia, where drier than normal conditions are likely to continue. Tension is high in Lokwamosing, Turkana East County after bandits stormed the village and drove away all animals which were meant to be vaccinated by County Government Ministry of Agriculture in collaboration with World Bank support. Trouble started when the animals being taken for vaccination were waylaid by bandits, prompting the exercise to be called off. Due to an outbreak of livestock disease in Turkana East, County Government had planned to conduct mass livestock vaccination exercise in the area. The armed bandits managed to steal over 2,000 animals, killed a man, and left a 13-year-old girl nursing bullet wounds. The injured girl was taken to Okoh dispensary for treatment. Police led by Turkana East Sub-County Commander Edwin Ogwari pursuing the bandits. Tension is high in Lokichar, Lokori route. Now, WhatsApp has developed a feature that is yet to be released where you can silently exit groups without notifying other people in the chat. Only group admins will be able to see who exits the group, but others will not. According to the WhatsApp desktop beta, when you exit a group, WhatsApp normally adds a system message in the chat to inform all participants when you join or exit the group, whereas with the new feature, when you exit, this information will only show up to the group's admins, because group admins should always be notified about what happens in their groups, so it is needed to show them who exited the group. Internationally, and German Chancellor Olaf Scholz has seen his popularity slide over his cautious stance on the war in Ukraine, eclipsed by two ministers from the Green Party who have taken a more decisive approach. Scholz, whose Social Democrats are in power with the Greens and the Liberal FDP, has faced a barrage of criticism over his perceived weak response to the war, including his hesitancy over sending heavy weapons to Ukraine. Meanwhile, Green Party Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock and Economy Minister Robert Habeck have impressed with their more vocal approach, topping a recent survey of the country's most popular politicians. Scholz sought to redress the balance with a speech in the Bundestag parliament. Scholz also tried to shake off accusations that he is dragging his feet in dealing with Moscow over fears of escalating the crisis. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Assetto. Good morning.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
All right, traffic coming off the Thika Superhighway this morning, quite heavy, just at that Utali Drift, and then before that at the Outer Ring Junction, all stops as well. But then going towards Roysambu Clayworks, that's not too much of an issue today. Looking at the Northern Bypass, also traffic going then into your different parts of Kitisuru, coming in through to Westlands later on, not too much of an issue at all. No traffic actually whatsoever. Waiaki looks pretty good as well. Coming off of Lavington into those areas, Thompson, and then out towards Kileleshwa, and then onto Dennis Pritt, and then through to Chiromo. Not much of an issue here at all this morning either. We're looking at Mombasa Road and looks pretty good. Coming in through Sabaki out towards Cabanas and then towards General Motors. You're looking pretty good. Friday seems to have started off right. How about we keep it just so? Let's talk on SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text 40127 and let's keep things moving this morning.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down.
It is 7 minutes after 8. Good morning. Welcome to the third hour of Kenya's biggest conversation on this final day of the week. It's the 20th day of March 2022. We are in March until advised otherwise by the President of the Republic of Kenya.
June.
We'll move from March to June.
No, we'll move out of March in June.
Yes, as predicted. June.
We will not. When it comes to power, the cost of power coming down.
Oh, I'm talking about the expressway. You know, expressway that's my pet project.
Expressway June.
Yes.
What will have happened? There'll be a stage at Westlands.
That won't be there. But the official commissioning of the express superhighway will have occurred.
Will happen in June.
Yes, June.
Probably just before Madaraka Day.
Usefully, it should.
Is Madaraka Day not on the 1st of June?
Yes, that night.
Oh, okay.
At midnight.
Midnight. Self-governance.
That's the one.
That's the one. Madaraka.
Power, this one this is a hard one. It's a tough one.
It is tough. It is tough. Anything that involves a lot of money is usually tough in this country.
Yeah.
And it's made even tougher when the details of the contracts that brought about some of these wonderful things like electricity for all, etc., and the high cost and the reasons behind it, etc., are never made public. It's the story of our lives. You ask for it, yes, they're readily available. And yet they're never available. But they are readily available.
Yes.
So, anyway, the thing about life is that they will be available.
At some point?
No. In the not too distant future, they will be available.
I think some of those questions, the team that was tasked by the president to first of all find out whether we can get cheaper power in this country, and they came back and said, by December, 33%, doable. Then they will go and do it.
Do it and tell us.
Then they went to the ground. And the ground met them, and the ground also had a conversation with them.
And the ground said, we are the ground.
The ground told them,
we are the owners of the ground.
Go do something else. This thing that you're telling us. Electricity, yes, we can bring it down. When? We've said we can bring it down. Why are you asking these many questions?
What's wrong with you?
So we've given 15%. How many more percentages do you need? Another 15. It's coming. When? Soon. Which date? Excuse me.
See, we said it's coming.
Have we not given you the 15?
Yeah. Have we not said that it's possible to get 15%? It is possible. Is it not?
It is.
Yes. Kenya's biggest conversation. We are also live on KTN Home. We are live on SpiceFM around the country. We are live on YouTube. SpiceFM KE is our YouTube page and our YouTube channel, and our Facebook page is SpiceFM KE. Having a conversation shortly about justice. So we've been having Justice Thursday's conversations. We shall have our Justice Thursday's conversation on Friday, because we have the head of the judiciary, the Chief Justice, the Honorable Justice Martha Koome, who's the Chief Justice and President of the Supreme Court, is joining us for this conversation. And as we do that, we are also going to have the day's proverb. Gentlemen, thank you very much for walking into the studio, all of you. Madam Chief Justice, asante sana. Now, gentlemen, after you take the photos, you'll step aside. You're on the show.
Ama tuwavutie
kiti. Mukwe pia wageni. Yep. Pia wao.
Yes.
Wakwe katikati ya show. Madam Chief Justice, very good morning to you.
Good morning, Latiff.
It's good to have you here in person. We had a conversation with you, but it was at the height of COVID and with all the restrictions, and also we had it virtually. But here you are, and it's an honor to have you in the show.
Thank you for inviting me.
No, thank you for honoring your promise to come to the show.
Indeed.
Yes.
City, we'll start the hour with the day's proverb. It's from Uganda.
It is from Uganda.
Yes.
A dog with a bone in the mouth cannot bite you.
A dog with a bone in the mouth
cannot
bite you.
Yes, even if you wake up very early in the morning, it still can't bite
Whatever
you.
you do.
It can't bite you. Because the apparatus it uses for biting is otherwise engaged.
Madam Chief Justice, when you hear that, it's a proverb from Uganda. A dog with a bone in the mouth cannot bite you. And the word, we have to be very specific. Bone in the mouth.
And also proverb from Uganda.
What's your translation of this? What's your immediate interpretation?
Always give the dog a bone to confuse it, so that it will never bite you. It will be busy with the bone.
Keep a dog busy and you're safe. That's a nice one. That's a nice one. Today is the 20th day. Okay, for purposes of this conversation, we're going to say we'll jump into May and then we'll come back to March later. It's the 20th day of May 2022. Tomorrow is the 21st day of May 2022. History was made on the date like tomorrow last year, when the Honorable Justice Martha Koome became the first woman Chief Justice of the Republic of Kenya. You assumed office on that day. And you came in and you promised that you're going to give it your all to the service of the country. It's been 1 year in office. we're having this conversation to reflect your 1 year in office as Chief Justice. Of course, you are not new to the judiciary. You had been in the judiciary. You are not new in the legal system. You had been working in your professional life in the legal system. But when you came in, you said, I have a vision for the judiciary and I have a vision for the country. And you called that vision social transformation through access to justice. Tell us about that. What was the thinking behind it? Social transformation through access to justice.
Thank you for having me. 1 year in the office. It's a remarkable period when we reflect on what we have been able to do within 1 year. But more importantly was the launch of the vision, the social transformation through access to justice. This is a build-up on the former frameworks that were there. After the 2010 Constitution, it is envisaged that the judiciary must be transformative. The judiciary must be responsive to the aspirations of Kenyans. And we, judges, judicial officers, and everybody working in the judiciary must serve the people efficiently and must do so without undue technicalities. In other words, we must make justice accessible to the people. And my predecessors had done an amazing job to come up with the Judicial Transformation Framework, the Honorable Dr. William Mutunga, that laid the groundwork, the foundation for transformation. And my predecessor, Justice David Balaga, continued with sustaining the judiciary transformation by just scaling up what Dr. William Mutunga had started. And for me, we have to continue with that trajectory, but taking another perspective that unless we transform the society, we cannot transform the judiciary. Hence, the social transformation. We must aim at empowering the people so that they can hone the justice. Because justice cuts across everybody. Everybody wants to be treated fairly and justly. Everybody wants to access justice. Everybody wants to be treated with dignity. So this is not for the judiciary alone. We must demystify it and say it is ours as Kenyans. We are entitled. And for us, we are your servants to just serve you and ensure that we treat you with dignity when you come to court. You do not have to come to court year in, year out. You do not have to travel 200 kilometers to access a court or a place where you can meet justice. Yes.
Even as we talk about the 1 year and the anniversary of from the time you took up this position, what would you say are some of the most difficult hurdles you've had to overcome?
There are very difficult hurdles that I have encountered. Some I anticipated before I came into the office because they were there, they were in existence. There was this stalemate regarding the appointment of the 41 judges. One passed away, unfortunately, before. And that was a major hurdle because the delivery of service was slowed down tremendously. We don't have judges, and we cannot move forward. So that was a major hurdle. The other one was the state of infrastructure of the judiciary. If you expect the judiciary with 54% of the human capacity, human resource capacity to serve 50 million Kenyans, is a tall order. Also, the buildings themselves, the infrastructure, technology, and all that also needs to be matched. This is a 13 trillion economy. Nairobi is the hub of commercial activities. We do not have the infrastructure to be able to serve that kind of population and that kind of economy. So what I realized is that the judiciary has been left behind in terms of development for maybe 30 years. So it requires a Marshall Plan for it to reflog and be able to respond to the expectations of our commercial justice, of our resolving all the disputes that we come across, and hence the mega program of opening the doorways to justice using other mechanisms, court annexed mediation, arbitration, alternative justice system, small claims courts, and really getting courts nearer the people.
You know, those words that you've talked about, there are times when you have a conversation here with whether it's judges, whether it's magistrates or directors of the judiciary, or various arms of the judiciary, and you're talking about like court annexed mediation, we're talking about alternative justice system. It's, to many people, it sounds like, you know, what has happened is we are devolving access to justice and making access to justice more decentralized. You have various ways in which you can get justice. Some are faster than if you went through the structured system, what is normally known as the judicial system, going to the courts. Now, still, there's an issue of the human resource capacity that you've talked about. When you say that the judiciary has a staff complement of 54%, what does that mean? Where is the 54% figure derived from?
It is derived from the real statistics of the number of people we have in place. For instance, the establishment for the High Court judges, Latiff, is 200 judges. We only have 70 in place. So that is how it is derived at. The Court of Appeal, they are supposed to be 30, although in my view they should even be 50. But the establishment is 30, and we only have 20 in office. And it goes on like that. I think it's only the Supreme Court which has a full complement. Also a very low threshold, 7 judges. And 7 judges present a big challenge because the column for the Supreme Court is 5. So you can imagine you are always leaving 2. And these 2 are probably judges who have sat in the matter either in the High Court or the Court of Appeal. Because I think 4 of us have been judges before. So it's always a very difficult balancing act to get the quorum for the Supreme Court, especially when the matter has come all the way from the High Court, the Court of Appeal, to the Supreme Court. So these are the challenges, but challenges that can be surmounted, not difficult. If there is goodwill and there is provision for what is required, budgetary allocation, we would be able to surmount this.
Madam Chief Justice, as you talk about these surmountable challenges, even before your appointment, one of the big issues was funding of the judiciary. And you came in and you said this, that it was clear that funding to the level which would be acceptable needed to happen to make sure that this access to justice actually happened. Have you seen an improvement or at least a pledge to make funding to the judiciary more acceptable over time?
The discussions we've been having with the legislatures, the members of parliament, especially the 2 relevant committees to the judiciary, the committee that deals with budget allocation and the legal committee, they have been very, very positive. That they have actually understood the need for the judiciary to be allocated enough resources. Because if you expect the judiciary to deliver, then you have to give the judiciary the where or whither for them to be able to deliver. So I am very hopeful. It's work in progress. And I think sometimes when you live in a country like Kenya that is very vibrant, that has so many competing interests as far as the budgetary allocation is concerned. You just have to be patient, but keep urging for your case, because you know a country is like your mother. You know what your mother is capable of doing and what they are not capable of doing. But it's always good to keep sending your wrist.
Keep asking for your bone.
Yes, keep asking for your bone and keep saying, this bone is so small. It can't fill my mouth. It's leaving space.
Does it say something then for you? And again, something that you talked about in communication that we saw coming from your office, in terms of the independence then of the judiciary. Because if we're looking at arms of government who are supposed to work in a complementary fashion, here you are saying to one arm of government, then allow us to operate. Does it then bring into question the stability of the independence of the judiciary if you're asking all the time, please consider us?
Which ought to have been settled 12 years ago. When the Constitution of Kenya established the Judiciary Fund. What has stood on the way of the establishment of the Judiciary Fund for 12 years? I think that's a big question to ask Kenyans, because it is the Kenyans who enacted the Constitution, but it has not been implemented. But I'm happy to report that over the last 1 year since I came in the office, I found a lot of work had been done towards the establishment of the Judiciary Fund. There was an act, Judiciary Fund Act, and the regulations. And I took them up, and I'm happy to report that come 1st July, we are starting the Judiciary Fund. It is set, it has a number, it has been tested, and it has been loaded with the budget for the 2021-2022 budget. So that is a milestone, because once you get our funding, our money put in our fund, then we are delinked from the National Treasury. We are delinked from the HIFMIS, where we make requests all the time. And then sometimes also we run without money because the money came in late. And then it also went back because we could not absorb it because of the tight period within which you have to do procurement, which is also very strenuous. You can't just do it quickly. For instance, if you are doing a construction, there are so many things you have to do before you can access the money. And by the time you do that, the time for the money has ended, and therefore you are supposed to close your books and then wait for another allocation in another quarter. So the Judiciary Fund will help us now manage our fund without stress.
Does it give you a guaranteed access to the fund? And I'm asking this in the context of our county governments. So we have a structure, again, from the Constitution on how revenue shall be shared between the national government and the county governments. There's a law that is passed in Parliament on the division of revenue. Then there's a law that's passed in the Senate on how much each county should receive. But every quarter, you will hear the Council of Governors complaining about the disbursement of this money from the National Treasury. Despite it being in law, this is the amount of money that this county should be receiving. Does the Judiciary Fund safeguard you from those games that we've been seeing with the National Treasury and the counties?
When it comes to the allocation of the fund to the county, the specific allocation, the quota, I think the counties are better off than the judiciary because it is spelled out, the percentage that they are going to receive. Wound over in other jurisdictions, they always have a percentage. The average is 3% of the national budget that should be given to the judiciary. But we haven't reached there. We are arguing that should be the case also for the judiciary. Because the judiciary is everywhere. When you talk about the county, judiciary is in the 47 counties. almost 130 court stations all over the country functioning. Parliament is only in Nairobi. But judiciary is always getting a very, very small percentage of the budget, when you compare it, I think even with the smallest county. The question you asked is whether our budget will be ring-fenced when the money is put in the judiciary fund. I think that would be the case, but if it's just this small drop in the bucket of 18 billion, then it is still not enough. Even if it's ring-fenced, about 50% of our programs, activities, budgeted items will still remain unbudgeted for and unfunded.
So you're saying, looking at your tenure, Madam Chief Justice, you've been somebody who says, let's take the small gains as we go for the bigger gains. Looking at what you said about the appointment of the judges that we had initially, so some were not appointed, but you said, let's get the ones that have been appointed. And we continue. It's the same thing I'm hearing you say. We have the judiciary fund. Ideally, we should have, this amount completely decided at the top level. It's a percentage of the national budget. We are not yet there, but we have the fund. Let's start with that. Let's move as we get what we are getting. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, absolutely. Because I think it's common sense that let's have this judiciary fund going as a first step, because you can't just refuse it and then you continue suffering and you don't know for how long. And it has been now 12 years. Let us have it with the 18 billion and then we move from there. Because when we have the judiciary fund, then it's easy even for us to fundraise from partners. They can be able to put money in the judiciary fund. It's a basket fund. Then we tell them, we'll give you a report. You want us to do technology because it is in the best interest for us to work on technology, or you want us to work on a particular program, access to justice for the poor. We need to cascade all these small claims courts in all the areas where we have courts, and even in other areas where we don't have courts, we can start small claims courts. Put the money in the basket fund, and we will put them, and we will work it. So it is better when it's opened, when it's operationalized. It will work.
Let's take a break. I know, City, you have a question. Let's do the question after this break. It's 8:30. This is Kenya's biggest conversation on SpiceFM, on YouTube, on Facebook, and on KTN. This morning, our guest is the Honorable Justice Martha Koome, Chief Justice and President of the Supreme Court of the Republic of Kenya. We're having a conversation ahead of her commemorating 1 year in office. Tomorrow, it's collaborations for justice in Kenya, the lessons of the Chief Justice for the past 1 year, what she has seen, what's working, what's not working, where do we need to support the judiciary so that we can access justice as citizens. We'll be back shortly after this break.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah.
You're listening to Spice FM.
Standard Group's Farm Kenya initiative is the umbrella entity for all agriculture-related channels, activities and investments. The media platforms under the Farm Kenya initiative include the Smart Harvest Weekly Pullout in the Saturday Standard, KTN Farmers TV, a 24-hour agribusiness TV station, Maisha Kilimo, a weekly agriculture show on Radio Maisha, AgriTalk on SpiceFM's morning show The Situation Room, and Grind na Agribiz on Vibes Radio morning show Morning Vibes. Find us online at www.farmers.co.ke, an integrated website that creates and aggregates agri-content, hosts a digital marketplace, and wide range of agri-data. Other platforms include specialized events such as the annual Mkulima Expo, quarterly Farmers Kenya Breakfast, and dedicated social media platforms at Farm Kenya 254. Farm Kenya, working to secure your growth.
Sunny conditions in Nairobi at 17, highs of 25 and lows of 15 today. It's mostly cloudy at 16 in Nakuru. We'll see highs of 25 and lows of 14. 14 will also be the low in a wet Nyeri town this morning, highs of 24. And we'll see highs of 25 in a sunny Eldoret, currently at 17, coming down to lows of 13. It's raining in Mombasa at 26, highs of 31. We'll also see highs of 31 in a rainy Malindi, coming down to lows of 26. Sunny conditions at 20 in Kisumu, highs of 28 and lows of 19. While Kakamega is sunny at 21, we'll see highs of 28 and lows of 15. Kampala is cloudy at 21, highs of 28 and lows of 19. And rain showers continue in Dar es Salaam at 25. We'll see highs of 31 and lows of 23. Looking at sunny conditions at 9 degrees in Johannesburg, highs of 17, and into Lagos, cloudy at 24, highs of 31. And 31 will also be the high in a rainy Kinshasa, currently at 25. We'll see lows of 23. A much better traffic situation this Friday. We're seeing outbound traffic on the Thika Superhighway going then out towards Thika, but then coming into the city just after that Pangani underpass. Before that and just after that is where you see the most traffic. We have inbound traffic on Kiambu Road towards Muthaiga Square. Not too bad right now. Westlands has been a dream this morning compared to the nightmare that it was yesterday. It looks a lot better. Ring Road Westlands a little bit here and there, coming into Chiromo and then out towards Wangari Maathai Way. Not too bad. The CBD is taking a lot of the thumping action this morning. Langata Road is really busy, but that's normal and we should get out of it in no time. All right, guys, what's happening where you are? We're looking at North Airport Road going out towards the Eastern Bypass. Some traffic there, but this is all manageable this morning. So yes, we hope it remains just so. Let us know if it doesn't, if there's any more action where you are. Talk to us on SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text 40127.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
The Situation Room on Spice FM, on KTN, on YouTube, and on Facebook. It's Eric Latiff, Ndu Okoh, CT Muga, and our guest today. Instead of Justice Thursdays, we're having it Justice Friday. So we can commemorate just a day ahead of the Chief Justice commemorating 1 year in office. The 21st day of May 2021 is when she came into office. The Honourable Chief Justice Martha Koome is with us in the studio. CT, you had a burning question.
Actually, yes.
It's
something
burning.
that's been on my mind for a while because the vision that the Chief Justice had when she took office is clear. What it hopes to achieve is clear. The manifestations of it that we are seeing through implementation of the nuts and bolts of that vision, clear. But everything that should make it possible and to make the dream realizable is not in the Chief Justice's hand. It's in the hands of other arms of government. It's in the hands of Parliament. Now, it's in the hands of the executive. They have a part to play. Now, the question I wanted to ask is, in your mind, as a Kenyan and as a Chief Justice, do you think that our lawmakers and your sister and brother arms of government are actually ready for the vision that you have and for a judiciary that is what you have envisioned? Are they ready for it? I ask this because the part that they play always seems to fall short. You don't allocate money for yourself, somebody else does. You have a clear vision, you have an understanding of what you require, you never get it. So I have to ask the question, are they really ready for this judiciary that you envisioned?
Thank you very much for that question. This is a conversation we must have with the executive, with the legislature, and also with the Kenyans. What kind of judiciary do they have? They have already spoken to the kind of judiciary they have through the Constitution of Kenya 2010, a very robust judiciary that is responsive to their aspirations. If we want this country to grow economically, if we want to enhance our democracy, our very volatile democracy, then we just have to grow a very strong institution of the judiciary. And a very strong judiciary requires human resource capital, because that's what we need to be able to deal with the cases that we receive. We need infrastructure. We need buildings. We need technology. We need wherewithal for us to be able to operate in every corner of this country. Because there is no justification for some counties not to have courts available for somebody. For instance, a child who has been defiant to walk for 200 kilometers to go and seek justice. They cannot even do that. So we must be responsive to every Kenyan wherever they are. They are entitled to judicial services, the same way they are entitled to health and water. So this conversation must be taken to all those in office. I've seen it become a campaign agenda that we will provide the budgetary allocation that is required. And perhaps I think that is that it should be, so that whoever is in office as the executive, they will remember what they promised to do. And if they really want to spur the economic growth of this country, you cannot leave the judiciary behind. You just have to allocate the resources. And if you allocate the judiciary resources, judiciary also actually is an income-generating institution, because the services we render, some of them we charge. But we surrender everything that we receive back to the consolidated fund. So once you strengthen the judiciary, you actually make even the avenues of income generation more available to Kenyans. Because if I am a small business owner and I'm supplying goods, or I'm dealing with the businesses and people are taking my money and not even repaying me back, and I go to court and I'm in court for 10 years, then the business is killed. This is what we are doing with the small claims court. The turnaround time is 60 days. When you go to court, you get your judgment within 60 days. You get back your money. You go back to your business. So everybody should understand, when you invest in the judiciary, there is a very high return into the economy and into the growth of the country, including the democracy of the country.
You sit with some of these officers as chair of NCAJ, the National Council on Administration of Justice, where you're sitting with other justice actors, among them members of the executive. Do you have these conversations with them? Do you all agree that, yes, we need to fast-track access to justice, and so all of us should lobby for increased funding and for assured and guaranteed funding for the judiciary?
We do actually, and that was realized also after the 2010 Constitution, that justice is a chain link. No one can operate and deliver from a silo. We must all work together, and we are a chain link. It is strongest as it is weakest at the weakest point. So we must all pull together, because if one drops, the ball will be dropped. And most certainly, it will be dropped at the judiciary, because we are the ones who proclaim I like giving this example of the judiciary as a fisherman who is sitting downstream, and the fish is coming dead. The fisherman is not going upstream to see what is killing the fish. He's just waiting and declaring dead. So that's what we do in the judiciary. When cases are brought to court, when they are poorly investigated, when they are poorly prosecuted, when the witnesses do not turn up. And these are mega cases with huge public interest implications, a lot of public money involved or something of public interest. But we are there to declare it dead. It's not nice. And this is why we put a lot of premium in the National Council on the Administration of Justice, because that is the one that brings all the actors together so that we can all discuss our challenges and look for solutions. In those meetings, we actually discuss service delivery, what is impeding expeditious disposal of cases, because are we really serving Kenyans when we keep turning them away, year in, year out? You have a criminal case, you're coming to court for 10 years. What kind of justice is that at the end of the day for the victim? The other day we had a case that was decided after 16 years. And I think the plaintiff was awarded. But by the time the plaintiff was awarded, the defendant was long dead. So what justice is that, really? So that is what we discuss, and we all are concerned about it. Everybody wants money. The police want money. Prosecution want money. The probation want money. Every actor there, they all are talking of shortage of budgetary allocation. This is why I described our country as our mother. So we just have to nurture, not to stress the mother also, so that she dies, you know.
Have to keep her alive.
We have to pamper her and encourage and do what we have to do to keep her very strong. Yes.
You mentioned, a number of things. So the fish turns up dead at the end of the stream, and the judiciary declares, dead on arrival.
Yeah.
Because of certain factors that are, going on. So, I'm curious to note, because we have complaints upon complaints upon complaints about the length of time that it takes to adjudicate some of these things. Cases of public interest, for example, takes years for anything to be done. Is there one place where the blame lies squarely? Or is it a combination of factors, whether we're talking about inadequate evidence, when we're talking about inadequacy of prosecution and things like that? Because the judiciary can use, as you say, just declare it dead on arrival and can't do anything beyond saying, go back and get me more. Is that a direct link to the length of time that we see taken for some of this delivery of justice?
Yes, like you said, Udo, it's really a combination of factors. Also, I did not mention they are the parties themselves who do not want the cases to move. They are also the lawyers in the case. So what we are doing with this vision, we are not tolerating adjournment of cases. We are discouraging adjournment of cases. We are administering what we call dockets. Every judge, every magistrate has their own docket. And of course, we have our own performance contracting, where every judge and every magistrate or judicial officer or anybody has to say what they did every day. You have been at work, what did you do? I had so many witnesses, I delivered so many rulings or judgments or applications. We are accountable. We are independent, but we are accountable. We are accountable to people because we are paid by Kenyans. So what we are doing in the judiciary, we are urging everybody, and this is why we have a very vibrant court user committees and bar bench committees that are active, because these are our stakeholders. When we meet with them, we tell them this month, these are the cases we are going to hear, and they have been prepared for hearing, they are ready for hearing, so that the day they are listed, they must proceed. But you will see, if I owe you money and I don't want to pay you, I will use every excuse so that the case does not proceed on that day, so that I'm not adjudged liable to pay. And that is what we are saying. The court will not be used as the weapon of frustrating those who want to run away from their responsibility. So the day that it is fixed for hearing, even if you come and tell us you are in hospital, we shall proceed. After all, now there is virtual hearing. At the very worst, we can connect you, and you can actually tell the court what you want to tell the court from wherever site you are. And then this case can move out of our records. So it's a combination of factors, like you're saying, but the judiciary must be very firm because we are the ones on the driver's seat to take the vehicle where it should go. So we refuse to be manipulated and to be used by those who want to frustrate the wheels of justice.
You know, Justice Kwame, the law gives you, as a Chief Justice, very many other roles. You're not only the head of the judiciary or the president of the Supreme Court, you've basically been made the head of justice system as chair of NCAJ and the others. So basically, it's like the law has told you, you are the mother of justice in the country. So when we see some actors, some players in that chain not performing, does the mother remove a slipper? This is what mothers do. If you're not doing this, you'll take out a slipper or the mwiko and whip you. Are you whipping the other actors to make sure that they're doing what they should be doing? For example, the delays that are in court cases, it's because of, bar bench relations or investigators not doing their job properly, or the prosecutor coming to court and saying, I'm starting a case, but then making applications later, I want to consolidate these cases. That entire game is delaying justice. What do you do as Mama Justice?
Thank you very much. I've earned another title today, this morning at SpiceFM. Mama Justice, I don't mind it. Indeed, that's what we do at the National Council on the Administration of Justice. When we meet, we all have statistics. We all have a list of the challenges that we are encountering. And then this is mimicked at the court user committee level, because every court station as a court user committee, and they meet regularly also. And they are saying, why aren't our cases progressing? Why are we having in our docket cases that are 5 years old, 10 years old? And those cases are being turned around all the time, and they are being fixed for hearing. And these challenges are being discussed at that level because we talk about in the judiciary shared leadership, in the sense that even the magistrate, the smallest magistrate court, they are discharging justice. So they must be empowered to take leadership of their court and make sure there is no backlog of cases. Identify the bottlenecks that are impinging on the completion of these cases and discuss with the parties that are involved. Call them, say, I'm fixing your case for hearing. And then, because it is for us who control our own diary, and then come the day of the hearing, if they are not ready, three things will happen. First, they'll be given an opportunity to present their case, and if they are not there to present their case, they can be given an opportunity to withdraw it. And if they cannot withdraw it, the case will be dismissed. Yes, so that we move to the next level. And we can't be at one point forever. So that's how we are dealing with these cases. And I'm hopeful that next year, when we come to see how far this collaboration has gone, God willing, God working with us, we will be reporting that in our judiciary, we do not have those old cases.
You'll have cleared them.
Yes.
Let's talk about elections and election preparedness. You sit with other actors who are crucial in the preparations for elections and also in election cases determination. So you're sitting with the IEBC, you're sitting with the Interior Ministry, you're sitting with the others. And among the things that you've said is the judiciary is setting up special courts so that you can expedite hearing of these election-related cases. There's one that I want to ask you as President of the Supreme Court. I'm not asking for the details, I'm just asking. This particular case of Governor Sonko impeached God is sitting in the Supreme Court. There's a whole argument now in the public domain. A governor who's been impeached, should they run or should they not run in the next general election? A court yesterday issued some stay orders and said, okay, IEBC, do not clear this person first. But there's a case pending in the Supreme Court as the president of the court. Why is it taking so long?
Latiff, you know that I cannot answer that. That is a no-go zone because that is a completely live matter. I will not comment at all on that one.
Can I ask something else that you might be able to comment on?
Yes.
It's, for a lay person, it's a legal conundrum. On the one hand, from what we've heard, we have a case where we had a certain member of parliament who was not only found guilty by a competent court, but was even sentenced. Then they appealed. Now, from what we hear, we had a commissioner of the IBC explaining that according to the law, the moment you appeal, it's like the judgment that had been delivered is lifted and you are now innocent until proven guilty again. And yet, when it comes to people who've been impeached, from where I sit, it doesn't seem to apply, because if you're impeached, you're permanently impeached. Even if you have a case in court, you're still impeached. Is there a bit of a conundrum here, or is it that
I don't know, because when I listen to you, you answer the question. When you're impeached, you're impeached. When you are sentenced,
Madam Chief Justice,
until the sentence is set aside.
Yes, I'm not as bright as I sound. I'm actually explain this to me so that I understand it.
That is exactly what it is. If you are impeached until that impeachment is lifted.
And if you take the matter to court, you're still impeached.
Of course, until the court lifts the impeachment.
Yeah, so now.
And so is the sentence. If you have been sentenced, you are actually sentenced until the sentence is set aside.
So if you appeal, you're still sentenced.
You are still sentenced. The appeal does not take away the sentence.
You see, why I ask is, we have a case where somebody was sentenced, went to the appellate court, and they're back in parliament. So I'm thinking now, so that sentencing, what was that all about?
Yes, I think we interpret the law the way we like to, for our benefit. Of course, if I want to benefit, I will interpret it the way I want. Therefore, but the law remains the law. Yes.
In cases of corruption, Madam CJ, many times there are those who will actually go out there and accuse the judiciary of being the bottleneck for corruption. This is where corruption cases come and either they die or they build a home and they just sit for a long time. What are you doing to reverse that perception, the public perception, that it doesn't matter what we see in the public, as long as someone has been arrested, kamata, they're taken to court, forget it. It'll still there for forever.
You remember when I took office a year ago, I said to Kenyans that the judiciary will not be the parking lot for corruption cases, as he did all the other cases. And I was genuinely concerned about the amount of time these cases take in court. And since I came in office, I've had to look at that docket because it is my responsibility to ensure that there is efficiency in everything that we do. I think there are some other fundamental problems that we might have had in that corruption court. We call it anti-corruption court. In terms of the way the cases are presented. Because if you present a case with 90 witnesses and half a ton of documents, it will actually require a miracle to happen, especially during the COVID period. You needed a mega tent to bring, also, I should have mentioned, when you have 20 or more accused persons in one case. If you have 20 or more accused persons, each one of them is coming with 2 or 3 lawyers. Then they are coming with the witnesses. Then they are coming with their friends and relatives. You will actually need a mega tent. Even starting that case, the logistics of even just starting that case becomes nightmarish. And these have been the conversations we've been having with the DPP and also the police and everybody in the National Council on the Administration of Justice. And indeed, we put together a specialized committee to look at all the bottlenecks we experience, especially in corruption cases, and advise the National Council on the Administration of Justice on how best corruption cases can be moved. And we have made tremendous progress from there. There has been quite a bit of movement of those cases. I don't know whether you have been following, because some of those recommendations have been put in place, especially combining the witnesses. You don't have to bring the 90 of them. Select the critical ones and bring them. Instead of 90, you can bring 10. And also, the DPP is very ingenious, exploring other mechanisms for resolving these disputes, like pre-bargaining. Because at the end of the day, if money was stolen from Kenyans, what makes sense to us is money back. Pay back the money, return the property that was taken. But we are making a lot of progress in that. And given another year, I think we'll be talking another story. Yes.
We want to thank you very much for joining us today, Madam Chief Justice. And congratulations as you commemorate 1 year in office. And we look forward to hosting you here throughout in the next year as you continue with implementation of the vision, the social transformation through access to justice.
Thank you very much, and thank you for hosting consistently the Justice Thursday that informs Kenyans about what we do in the judiciary, that demystifies justice, that informs Kenyans on the avenues and the remedies that they can seek if their rights have been violated, and also informing Kenyans about their rights and that we are there to serve them. Thank you very much for having me.
Asante sana.
Yes.
Keep it here for more conversations coming up in the next hour on SpiceFM and online. It's now 9 a.m.
Do so without undue technicalities. In other words, we must make
the latest news from around the world.
In an interview with SpiceFM, the CJ said that in order to achieve this, Kenyans must be empowered so that they can be able to own the justice she says cuts across. She added that Kenyans want to access justice, and with that in mind, the judiciary must be demystified.
Everybody wants to be treated fairly and justly. Everybody wants to access justice. Everybody wants to be treated with dignity. So this is not for the judiciary alone. We must demystify it and say it is ours as Kenyans. We are entitled. And for us, we are your servants to just serve you and ensure that we treat you with dignity when you come to court. You do not have to come to court year in, year out. You do not have to travel 200 kilometers to access a court or a place where you can meet justice.
The religious leaders in the country have urged Kenyans to diligently assess and vet candidates contesting for different seats to make informed choices during the August 9 polls. The Dialogue Reference Group, made up of Muslims, Christians and Hindu religious leaders, advised Kenyans to be wary of leaders who incite them to engage in violence or any other acts of lawlessness before, during and after the elections. The religious leaders asked President Uhuru Kenyatta not to take sides while exercising his right to support candidates of his choice in the upcoming polls. Now, the Directorate of Criminal Investigation says the middle-aged man who was recently killed in an execution style in Nairobi's Mirema area was operating a criminal enterprise within the city. DCI revealed that Samuel Muvota began his trade more than 10 years ago by stealing from victims at ATMs in various banks before recruiting women who will be tasked with spiking drinks or revelers in high-end entertainment spots around the city. As a result, the deceased suspect, whom the agency claimed had 7 wives at the time of his death, had amassed massive wealth from the proceeds of crime. According to the investigating agency, none of Muvota's wives suspected that he lived a double life. The DCI stated that the slain suspect had recruited over 50 women as part of his criminal gang, which they said had led to the death of some victims and broken others' marriages. The drought situation ravaging most parts of Kenya is bound to get worse, according to the latest weather outlook by the IGAD's Climate Prediction and Application Center. Most parts of equatorial Eastern Africa, where seasonal rains have failed, are expected to remain dry for the next 5 months. The regions affected are the rangelands of eastern Ethiopia, coastal areas of Kenya, and southern Somalia, where drier than normal conditions are likely to continue. Now, tension is high in Okoh, Turkana East County after bandits stormed the village and drove away all animals which were meant to be vaccinated by County Government Ministry of Agriculture in collaboration with World Bank support. Trouble started when the animals being taken for vaccination were waylaid by bandits, prompting the exercise to be called off. Due to an outbreak of livestock disease in Turkana East, County Government had planned to conduct mass livestock vaccination exercise in the area. The armed bandits managed to steal over 2,000 animals, killed a man, and left a 13-year-old girl nursing bullet wounds. The injured girl was taken to Okoh Dispensary for treatment. Police led by Turkana East County Commander Adrian Ogwari are pursuing the bandits. Tension remains high in Lokichar, Lokori route. Now, German Chancellor Olaf Scholz has seen his popularity slide over his cautious stance on the war in Ukraine, eclipsed by 2 ministers from the Green Party who have taken a more decisive approach. Scholz, whose Social Democrats are in power with the Green and the Liberal FDP, has faced a barrage of criticism over his perceived weak response to the war, including his hesitancy over sending heavy weapons to Ukraine. Meanwhile, Green Party Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock and Economy Minister Robert Habeck have impressed with a more vocal approach, topping a recent survey of the country's most popular politicians. This is Newswire. Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
All right, so we're looking at Friday morning traffic a few minutes after 9 o'clock, and it's still building in certain parts of the city. Nothing too crazy, though. Uhuru High is where we get most of the action today. Coming out of Westlands, looking pretty good. We didn't have too much of an issue there, and the Thika Superhighway today is like a dream. Coming just past the Pangani Underpass and then going towards Murang'a Road is where you see that little nook of traffic, but nothing too bad. Ring Road Westlands a little bit here and there, in and outbound. In the CBD is where you see the most of it this morning. Traffic has behaved really well today. Hopefully we can continue like this through Friday. Just in case anything does get out of whack, talk to us on SpiceFM, KE on Twitter, text 40127.
This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up.
It is 7 minutes
not
after
down.
9. Very good morning to you. This is the final hour of Kenya's biggest conversation today, and indeed this week. We're live on SpiceFM. We're live on YouTube. We are also live on Facebook. SpiceFM KE are our pages. CT has the day's proverb.
The proverb is from Uganda. A dog with a bone in the mouth cannot bite you.
A dog with a bone in the mouth.
In the mouth specifically. Not a dog playing with the bone. A dog with the bone in the mouth cannot bite you. Now, disclaimer, proverb from Uganda. Okay? We earlier on in the morning we were discussing Kenyan dogs, and Eric was of the view that a Kenyan dog can bite you even if it has a bone in the mouth.
Even if it has a bone in the mouth, it'll make space to bite you.
It'll make space and it'll bite you. So,
Kenyan dogs. Why? You're joking, my friend. Hey, well, people don't know these things. Anyway, let's move our conversation slightly ahead now. We've had the Chief Justice and President of the Supreme Court joining us. We are now also privileged to be joined by the country manager of the Kenya cluster for the IFC. And the Kenya cluster covers Kenya, Burundi, Malawi, Rwanda, Somalia, Tanzania, and where the proverb comes from? Uganda. Amina Arif is with us in the studio. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you very much for joining us today. And we want to have a conversation about increasing market access for women-owned businesses. This is because as IFC, you did some study, and you'll tell us about that study, and then what you found and what you thought the solutions would be and how far you've gone with that. But let's start by understanding the IFC. For many people who don't know who the IFC is.
Right. So I think you're right. Many people don't know who the IFC is. We are a part of the World Bank Group. So the World Bank Group is composed of IBRD, which is typically and traditionally what you know as the World Bank. Their primary purpose, along with IDA, is to interact with the government to support public sector development, right? So they work with the government, if I can put it that way. IFC is the private sector arm of the World Bank Group. So our mandate is to work with the private sector, because our belief is the public sector alone in any country does not have the resources or the capability to drive the entire development that a country needs. The private sector has to play a leading role there. And increasingly, we see the private sector playing a bigger and bigger role, especially in the post-COVID recovery period. Unless the private sector steps up, you've seen the fiscal space in most of our countries is limited. Your public sector cannot just write a check and do what's needed. The private sector has to step up, create the jobs, create the opportunity, move the country forward.
So what does the IFC do to help this? Do you invest in companies? Do you loan money to companies? Do you buy off companies?
Okay, so maybe we don't buy off companies, but we do invest in companies. So IFC it supports in a couple of different ways. We do direct investments through debt, through equity, guarantees, basically any form of capital provision, if you will. Then we also provide advisory services. So we help companies. In some areas, there are things that they want to do, but are unable to do. So we bring in examples from other parts of the world. We have teams that are specialized in things, everything from climate smart agriculture to SME capacitization, all kinds of advisory work we do, environmental and social advisory. And then we also have, let me call it another advisory window, which works on what we call the enabling environment, right? The regulations, the policies, how do we help those? We don't work on policy directly. That is what the World Bank does. But certainly we help inform the discussion and, we work on those enabling environments. So that's more or less, broadly what we do.
The work that you do. Yeah. Let's delve into the topic for the day, which is about increasing access for women-owned businesses. IFC conducted a study seeking to understand the barriers, the challenges, the opportunities for various SMEs in the country. And then you also now concentrated on women-owned businesses. Give us the highlights of what you found in that study.
Okay. So in our role as a development financial institution, we are the largest DFI in the world that's focused on the private sector in developing countries. The problem of women SMEs or women economic empowerment is not unique to this part of the world. It does exist everywhere, so we've seen it. If I can just sort of give some perspective on that, globally, 1% of the procurement contracts go to women-owned or women-led businesses. 1%, okay? In Kenya, that number is better. It's at 3%, but that still means that 97 out of every 100 procurement contracts go to businesses that are not women-owned or women-led, right? So that's really the starting point for us. And IFC, unless we're able to empower women and the youth, we cannot get to the kind of development that, we're aiming for. So we have to bring all of them into the fold to be able to get us where we want to be. So that's really where our work begins, right? So the study you're talking about highlights some of these gaps. It highlights some of these issues and why the involvement of women-owned and women-led businesses in, procurement value chains is so very low. And the 3% number that you see in Kenya, while it may look more impressive than the 1% globally, the reality is most of these are really low value-added contracts. So most of these women businesses are subcontractors, and they operate at the lower end of the value chain. They'll provide catering services or cleaning services or things like that. Often that's the case instead of providing the more higher value-added goods or services to companies.
Why is this?
Please go ahead.
Okay. Why is this that we see such a low penetration then of funding for women-led or women-led? Is it lack of expertise? Is it lack of putting themselves out there in terms of the businesses that they own or lead? Why would the number be so low vis-a-vis others?
So all of the above, right? There is absolutely a gap. There's an access to finance gap. It's there for all SMEs. All SMEs have issues getting the capital they need to grow. Women businesses have more issues in getting access to that capital. So certainly that's one thing. The other thing is, they don't always have access to the kind of operational capacity building that they need. And the third is an information gap, if you will, or access to information, which leads into access to market gap, where essentially they don't know how to look for and access these procurement contracts sometimes, that they don't have those networks. They don't know how to get to them. They don't know what to do when they see even if they hear of the opportunity, how to capitalize on it. So really it's a mixture of all of these. So in this program that we're trying to do, it's called Sourcing to Equal. It's a global platform that IFC is putting together. And the program in Kenya is the first country-specific program that we're doing under Sourcing to Equal. So we're hoping, Sourcing to Equal aims to empower 5,000 women-owned, women-led businesses to participate in procurement value chains. And in Kenya, we're hoping that by the end of our work here, it's a 3-year program, that at least we will have capacitized 1,300 businesses, women-owned and led businesses, to be part of procurement chains. So that's actually, we're trying to bridge some of those gaps.
So do I hear you to be saying that there are very many women who have an interest in being part and parcel of this space that you speak of, and that all the things that you've mentioned are some of the contributing factors to their not participating at the level that they could?
Yes, I think women businesses don't have a dearth of ambition or desire to grow. I think sometimes they lack the means and the tools and the skill sets that are required to grow. I think even companies, if you look at it from the other side, it's not like companies go out and say, well, we don't want to, source from women-owned businesses. Companies are really now committed, right? They've seen the government also pledge to do 30% of their procurement, with the gender lens. But how do they go about it? How do they find these businesses? How do they connect with them? So that's why sourcing to equal works on both sides. It works on the demand side with these companies, and we've signed on with 10 companies across different industries in Kenya, and to basically help them figure out, how do they source more from women-owned and led businesses. And then on the supply side, how do we get the women businesses up there?
For the longest time, one of the problems that was discussed in this country was the education of women. And very many forward-looking people put a lot of effort into getting the girl child, as we say, into a position where the opportunities available to them were equal to that of the boy child. Now, that has seen an upsurge of human resource capital among women. And you see it even in the occupation of positions of authority right across the country. Now, are we saying, therefore, that when it comes to business, and especially this particular sector of procurement, that even with this upsurge in human resource and capacity and skill building, that women still don't seem to move in the direction of occupying this space? So are we saying that there's an underlying problem that stops women from utilizing a capacity they already have in terms of education, skill set, and yet when it comes to businesses, somehow there isn't enough movement in that direction? If there is a gap, what is that gap and what causes it?
So I think there are things that contribute to that gap. Certainly it's not a dearth of talent or skill. I have met amazing women in Kenya, across all parts of the spectrum. So and I think, the country's done an amazing job on education attainment. So women are not lacking behind there in any which way. But yes, they do sometimes lack the toolkit that they need to grow into those businesses, right?
Do you think it's cultural?
Well, I come from a different culture, so it's very hard for me to opine on this. But I think in all cases, there's a cultural element. There's a perception element.
Actually, you've got to the heart of the matter, because one of the things that international organizations or funding agencies have been accused of is coming up with plans and schemes, even with research, to try and understand the people with whom they wish to work. Now, if there's an absence of that understanding or a clarity of it, it means whatever program or plan you have,
will not work.
Yes, the implementation will go belly up.
So we're very careful. I mean, from an IFC perspective, if you think about it, the number of resources we have based in Kenya, it's one of our largest offices in the world.
Why is that?
Well, it covers the region, not just Kenya. So we do cover the broader region. But that means we have a lot of expertise that we have brought to this part of the world. And the idea is not to bring in solutions from other parts of the world and say, I found this solution in Asia, and now we can just roll it out in Kenya. It never works. So our entire idea, and that's why we're working with local companies and we're doing the research locally, is to see what are the specific gaps here. How do we come in and help fill some of those specific gaps? And these 10 companies, they're leaders in their fields. We're talking about companies like Kengen, Safaricom, Absa, Stanbic, Unilever, Bamburi Cement, Nevas, Tropical Brands, Bitco, and Lineplast Group. They're already gender forward, if you will. And the reason that we're working with them is A, because of their commitment to the issue, and B, because we really want to create role models. That's the demonstration effect. Businesses are different from NGOs. They have to see a business case for doing something. And there is a very strong business case that we hope to demonstrate by working with these companies to say, when you diversify your supplier base, in every which way, not just I'm going to source now from this country and this country instead of just that country, but, across the spectrum. You reduce your costs, you bring in more competition, you diversify the risk profile of your supply chain. That's good business.
Did you document adequately in your research the sort of businesses that we find many women, say for instance in Kenya, getting involved in?
Yes, we do have research around that.
And so the understanding and the wherewithal of upscaling these so that they stop being the menial businesses that they are and growing them. Because I heard you mention things like cleaning, catering, and yet there are institutions of this very nature that are huge businesses.
Yep.
So if they've begun there, it means they have that capacity to at least start. So are we saying that what IFC is planning to do is to get such individuals, more so where the bulk of our population is in the rural areas, to growing whatever they have to a point where it can actually become big? Or are you just focused on working with people who are already big?
No, the entire purpose is to add, to capacitize, at the end of the day, 1,300 more women-led businesses to participate in those higher value procurement chains. Right? That is the purpose. Because they're supplying, there's the subcontractors to the big guys
Right.
already.
So then what's the action, Amina? What's the action then that would then lead to these 1,300 or how many others that you might
Is it
add in the
1,300 or
future?
13,000?
1,300.
1,300, okay.
So what's the action that says there's a woman-led business out here, there's an enterprise that essentially is waiting for this catalyst? What happens? Like the direct action that happens? Is it invitation for training? What happens?
So actually there are a few things which we're doing, again, as I said, on the demand side and the supply side. So these 10 companies have formed a peer learning platform, and they have committed to voluntary targets that are time bound. So these companies have stepped up and said, we will do this to improve the gender sort of profile of our procurement chains, right? So that's one side of it. So we're going to help those companies figure it out. Because then often, like I said, they don't always know what they have to do, how to get to that, improved gender balance.
Yeah.
So we're going to be working with them on that peer learning platform. We then are also putting in place, basically a matchmaking service, if you will, with buyers and suppliers, bringing them together so they can see and meet and, kind of try and pick up what they need from those typically SME businesses. And then, of course, we're having workshops to support those women, so capacity building of those women-led businesses to see to help them figure out how to access those opportunities. So a number of, it's basically a combination of all of these things rather than just one activity.
The 10 that have signed on so far, and the others that are looking to sign up as you go on with their sourcing to equal the 10 the businesses, what do they sign up for? Is there a specific commitment that they come in and say, so we are committing that we are going to have 30%, 40%, 50% of our procurement going to women-led businesses? Or are they also saying that out of our expenditure of X billion shillings a year, 30% of that will go to, because you can say 30% of your processes are going to be outsourced to women, then you'll end up still getting, supply of paper, supply of water, and the other things that you're talking about. How do you bring them into committing to the big business?
So each of these businesses, it's not something that we provide. It's something that each of those businesses has stepped up for. So they have voluntarily given targets, which are different across each business because, these are very different industries, to say this is what we will do within this time frame. And they will then, literally monitor themselves. These are voluntary targets. We're just going to help them. We're supporting them in that peer learning to achieve those targets. And then hopefully, that's just a starting step and they can go on further from there.
Have you been able to identify, even with this study and beyond, the gaps that we have? Look at the big procurement needs of the private sector and then look at the companies, the women-led companies or women-owned companies, and whatever sector of business they're involved in. So, for example, if it's big contract like a bank is going to be building new offices across the country, do we have many women-led construction companies? Have you identified some of those gaps and seen? So we have a gap in this area. Maybe we need to capacity build.
Yeah, but that's what the matchmaking is about, right? That's what the buyer-supplier matchmaking is about, to see what is it that the buyers need and what is it that the supply is available for.
So what do you do? What's a commitment by the IFC now? In this program, in the Sourcing to Equal program, once you've done, let's say, this matchmaking session, and it emerges that we have a serious gap in women-led companies that would be able to offer this kind of services, what do you do?
So we have different things we do. One, we work with businesses in those industries. We can work with them. If Again, we have to have willing partners, right? But we could work with them. And then our role in SME, in the support of SMEs and women doesn't end at Sourcing to Equal. Sourcing to Equal is just a very small part of what IFC does, right? We also have access to finance, which we do through financial institutions. So we've worked with several banks to enable SME financing for them, right? Both under advisory as well as investment programs. And several of those have a gender lens to it. So when we work with banks, we say, okay, you know what, we will help provide funding for SMEs for X million dollars, and 30% of that funding, 40% of that funding, whatever that number is, should go to women-owned and led businesses. So our sort of commitment to the gender agenda and the SME agenda does not begin and end at Sourcing to Equal. This is just one part of it. We have a very broad sort of engagement with SMEs, both on, through digitization, through technology, through some of our venture capital work. So,
I'm thoroughly impressed.
You are. It's a good job that is being done.
I just have a final question. I mean, how do you see this then? Because you said it's in the very beginning, you said that maybe paraphrasing, but that it's then almost impossible for governments to fulfill their function without looking at what a private sector can do to contribute to that. So do you see this? Does IFC see this as then an absolute complementary role without which, you have hundreds of businesses that would then, benefit from this and then essentially input to the economy. So is this a complementary role to government that is impossible to do without?
I think for a country's development, unless the private sector steps up fully, most of the jobs have to be created by the private sector. And within the private sector, it's the SMEs. That's the bulk of it, right? So unless we're able to get, as I said, women fully involved, SMEs fully involved, the youth fully involved in economic activity, we cannot achieve our development goals. The government, any government alone, cannot do that. And to have a resilient recovery, to have a sustainable recovery, not to have a recovery with growth spurts and, up and downs, to be able to employ all our youth productively, to be able to capitalize on the agricultural potential. We have to get youth involved in it. We have to get, our productivity gap filled. You can't do that with the government alone. The private sector has a key role to play. And I think in a resilient green recovery, right, the private sector's role is absolutely critical. It is very much complementary to the government. It does not, it does not take away from what the government needs to do. But the private sector's role is becoming increasingly more critical.
A risk mitigation question here. We've seen it with the public sector. So government comes in and says, our policy is 30% of procurement in government is going to be to women, youth, and persons with disabilities. What have we seen happen is people go and register companies using women as their registered director shareholders, but the beneficial owner of that company is male. Or the beneficial owner of that company is not youth or is not a person with disability. Now, similar thing. If we see these big companies like the ones you've mentioned, these are big financial institutions, Safaricom is there. Is it Kengen or Kenya Power? Kengen is there. And the others like Tropical. If the people who are operating in business notice that, Safaricom is now saying that they are actually dedicating a certain quota to women-owned and women-led businesses, crafty people. You'll register that company and it'll look like it's women-owned, but the beneficial owner is Eric Latiff. What do they do about that? Are they digging deeper to find out, is this actually woman-owned?
We place a lot of trust in the partners we sign up with. So we do trust their level of both due diligence and actual support for this. I don't think anyone is looking to sort of whitewash this issue in any way, let me put it that way. And crafty people, yes, I've heard about crafty Kenyan dogs also. So, We'll have to see how that goes.
Well, thank you very much, Amina, for joining us. Thank you for this
Thank you for
conversation.
having me.
And all the best as you continue rolling out the Sourcing to Eco program with the private sector companies that have signed up, with the SMEs that are also signing up and saying would like to participate in this. How can an SME get in touch with this program? How can they participate in this?
We have a website. I think Sourcing to Equal, a lot of information is out there. I think all of these companies are excellent brand ambassadors for us. So, for this program. And I think there's, online, all of this information can be available, including our research.
Amina Arif is the IFC country manager for Kenya cluster, covering several countries in the region. We've been talking about increasing market access for women-owned businesses, and the conversation continues at 28 minutes to 10. Let's take a quick break, take a look at the weather and traffic. Thank you very much for joining us, and come back again soon.
Anytime. Thank you.
I like listening to you guys. You're the default radio station in my car in the morning. Even the children listen to you guys.
I agree Parliament has failed this country. And I will say it again. We have not done what we should have done.
We know in this country, the Kenya prison sector is one of the most underfunded sector.
The way it is being done and the way we're calling it Huduma Number the Msema Kweli is because all records will be there. There are people who are now billionaires with no history as to how they got all these assets.
Yes. Anything that the president does that is not in accordance with the constitution is an illegal act. He shouldn't be doing it and should be sitting here and trying to sort of guise it up.
I totally believe live transmission of results and allowing Kenyans to be able to view all these results. I believe that it will be impossible to steal elections.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Business News with SpiceFM.
I'm Dennis Aseto. President Uhuru Kenyatta is set to open a new chancery in the Swiss capital of Bonn to enhance trade ties between Kenya and Switzerland. Speaking ahead of the President Kenyatta's official visit to Switzerland, Ambassador Andrew Keuren said the opening of the new chancery will invigorate the growing bilateral trade, which has been on an upward trend, with Kenya's exporting standing at 4.8 billion shillings, while imports from Switzerland standing at 8 billion shillings annually. The Nairobi Securities Exchange has announced the introduction of additional single-stock futures to its derivatives markets. The addition, which brings the total number of single-stock futures offered to 10, follows a review of the eligibility criteria for admission of single-stock futures to the next derivatives market. This now expands the range of securities offered and provides investors with a broader universe of single-stock futures to trade. Google has announced completion of assigning plus codes, which are digital physical addresses, to businesses and social amenities across Kisumu City, Mbale, Maseno, Majengo and Chavakali. The plus code addresses are now usable on Google Maps, both online and offline, enabling provision of digital and non-digital services to traditionally underserved communities that lack proper locational addresses. The East African Breweries Limited has committed 100 million shillings in a partnership with the government to save elephants in Kenya as it marks 100 years. In a ceremony attended by Tourism Cabinet Secretary Najib Balala and the Geo CEO Ivan Menezes, EABL's Group Managing Director Jen Karuku said the funding...
All right, so we are looking at sunny conditions in Nairobi this morning. Coming into Friday, we'll see highs of 25 and lows of 15. 18 degrees and partly sunny conditions in Nakuru, highs of 25 and lows of 14. 17 degrees and light rain in Nyeri, continues highs of 24 and lows of 14. It's sunny at 19 in Eldoret, highs of 25 and lows of 13. Light rain continues in Mombasa, highs of 31 and lows of 25. It's going to be sunny through Kisumu, highs of 28 and lows of 19. Malindi is partly sunny at 29, highs of 31 and lows of 26. And 24 degrees in Kakamega, sunny, highs of 28 and lows of 15. Kampala is sunny through most of today, highs of 28 and lows of 19. And Dar es Salaam, rain showers continue at 25, will go to highs of 31 down to lows of 23. It's sunny at 13 in Johannesburg, highs of 17 and lows of 9. 29. And Lagos is cloudy at 25. We'll see highs of 31 down to lows of 24. Light rain continues in Kinshasa. Highs of 31 and lows of 23 through Friday. And we're looking at 32 and sunny conditions out in Beijing Friday evening. Highs of 33 and lows of 16. Johannesburg is sunny at 13. Highs of 17 and lows of 9. And we're looking at cloudy conditions in Lagos at 25, going to highs of 31 and lows of 24. Round things off in Europe, London, light rain at 14, highs of 19 and lows of 11. And it's a rainy Paris morning at 17, highs of 24 and lows of 12. New York, still Thursday night, coming into Friday, we'll see highs of 22 and lows of 13.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah.
You're listening to Spice FM.
All right, traffic continues in certain parts of the city, but it's been an all right morning, actually. Most of the traffic we see right now happening on Uhuru Highway, getting into the city and then out towards Western Landis Road is doing that thing this morning. In and outbound traffic is really heavy. Other parts of the city just getting off of the final symptoms of morning traffic. Shouldn't be too painful here on out, except what's happening on Limuru Road. In and outbound traffic still continues, at least for now. Through the day, talk to us on SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text 40127.
Spice and everything nice. All right.
Spice up your life.
Okay, 22 minutes to 10, Kenya's biggest conversation. It's Eric Latiff and Okoh. City Muga has gone to invest with the IFC.
It's going to invest with the IFC.
I heard that the IFC does what it is?
Quickly.
Their companies. So that company of ours.
Oh, so he's going to do due diligence for
No, he is going to get us money.
This hour.
Yes. Very soon our company will be women-owned. And we are going to win all those contracts.
Women-owned.
Women-owned business. Okay. Yeah. It's not a problem. Not a problem. We can transform our company like that.
Just say it's women-owned. You know that
versatility.
The trickery she was talking about. Do you remember?
This is it, eh? This is it. Look, the headline in the papers today, like in the Nation, in the Standard, Battle of the Running Mates. They come from villages 60 kilometers apart in Kirinyaga and Nyeri. And while the two leading political formations are rubbishing each other over choice of running mate, most analysts agree that Martha Karua and Rigathi Gachagua are not pushovers. How will their entry influence the fight for the top seat? What I've seen happening on social media, number one is a lot of this excitement about, Martha Karua and the side of Azimio saying, look, can you compare the pedigree that is Martha Karua to Rigathi Gachagua? In terms of experience in politics, Martha has been there longer. In terms of her reform credentials, Martha has been there longer. Now, Rigathi Gachagua, really, we can't really compare. The other side says, look, it's not about the gender of Martha Karua. It should be the agenda. Martha Karua is not running for president. She's a running mate to somebody. What is the campaign's agenda?
The campaign's agenda is to gather numbers and get votes and then deliver the win.
What do they want to do for the country? What's their campaign agenda?
On the other
what
side.
are they saying?
Oh, okay.
Right? So whether it's Martha Karua or Rigathi Gachagua or whoever, does the Azimio agenda resonate with the voter? Does the other one is called Kenya Kwanza agenda resonate with the voter? So the Kenya Kwanza guys have been saying, it's not about gender. It's about the agenda.
Is it though?
Huh?
Can you run away? Look, there's still many things that are out for the count, right? There are many things that are out for the count, but there are still many things that have not made it through the door yet. In terms of all of this, many would say that we're just getting into, now the throes of this election campaign period.
Yep.
However, you cannot run away from the opportunity that has been presented for very many people when suddenly it became a reality that you could make this choice that you did. Okay? Doesn't and on both sides for that matter. When you say there has finally been an embrace of the possibility that a woman could essentially lead this nation. Do you know, when her name was chosen, do you know what people saw? You saw running mates.
Yep.
But what does the vice president mean? What does the vice president mean? That in the event that the president is removed from office or suffers
that the office of president becomes vacant. All right.
This individual will take up the responsibility of president and commander-in-chief of the country. That's what we're talking about. That reality has dawned on quite a number of people, and they say, oh, they're having a light bulb moment that, oh, this is actually a possibility. And I said it before, I'm telling you, even those on the other side, the light has also shone on them like, hold on a minute. You know what? Secretly, I might even cast my ballots in that direction.
Yeah.
Because it's a reality that has come to the minds of many people. The audacity of saying that, yes, I would at one point relinquish everything if by the calamity of death or for whatever reason I was removed from this office, this woman would be able to take over.
So you think the entry of Martha Karua may have swayed some undecideds and some Kenya Kwanza supporters?
I think it definitely has. But I think what it has presented is an opportunity for people to hope.
Okay.
Where they said, okay, well, you know, it really doesn't matter whichever way. I'll wake up on the 9th of August and I'll make my selection. But then here you are being given with an opportunity to think a little bit deeper about the choice that you're actually going to make, because maybe things can change. Look at the flurry of vox pops that you've heard over the last 5 days, right? What have people said? Oh, this, that, the other thing. What? A woman? How is it that this can be? And I think that's what this has done, that it has presented an opportunity for folks to think differently. Like I said, it's not in the bag, eh?
Is it also possible? Okay, let's look at Gashagua's announcement. What did the announcement of Rigathi Gachagua as Ruto's running mate do to A, Ruto's base, B, to the undecided, and C, to the Azimio base? Did they look at it and feel, you know what, this guy is a no-nonsense guy, he's a mobilizer, he is a guy who, in terms of, you know, political play, what we've seen within a very short time is that this is a guy who's just come from nowhere and suddenly he is actually so strong. The fact that he's so strong within such a short time says something about the character of the man that is Rigathi Gachagua.
That he's resilient. Or that what?
Yeah, that is a sharp political operative.
Yeah.
He's a sharp political operative. He has been able to, you know, spearhead and be in the leading of getting UDA as popular as it has become. If you look at all the by-elections that took place in Mount Kenya region and UDA was winning them, he was the one who was basically the leader of the pack. And he was leading and championing, and the UDA was winning those tickets. So they're like, hey, this guy is a proper political operative. Now, he's not a chair of any committee in Parliament. He is not, you know, vocal in terms of what he pushes in Parliament in terms of legislation and all, but in terms of representation, something. So what did that do? What did the Rigathi Gachagua entry into the game do to those three bases?
The fellows on the other side will probably tell you that it did not do anything more than what a feather would do on a steel foundation.
Which other side?
Azimio.
Okay.
For them, they would say, inconsequential. They may be wrong, because the truth of the matter is that if you look at the support, I mean, the throes of jubilation that came after his name was announced, people in his backyard were quite happy about that announcement. The Central Kenya support also cannot be ignored. But was he put in that position because of what he could deliver only, or it was because it was Deputy William Ruto's choice? That it's my choice.
Both.
This is what I want. Or was it because it was going to deliver the numbers?
My conspiracy theory, and I said this earlier the other day, is Rigathi Gachagua is actually a strong political figure in that region of Mount Kenya, and especially in Mount Kenya East. He's a very strong political mobilizer. He has played a big role in mobilizing and getting people to say, Ruto, ne Ruto. Okay? Now, did William Ruto know this? William Ruto knew this. But I guess now also the other side, my game, my theory is that knowing this and knowing the person that William Ruto is, he was like, if I pick you and it appears like, I had to pick you because you're the most popular, then I lose my leverage. I've got to gain leverage. So that whole game that was taking place on Saturday, 17 hours of I don't know what, that was basically Ruto with leverage. He needed... Kithure Kindiki came out of nowhere and is starting to pop in opinion polls. And then we have the final day, and it's no longer about the Kirinyaga governor, it's no longer about the Nyoro, it's no longer about the Kandara MP, Alice Wahome. It's those two, Kithure Kindiki and Rigathi Gachagua. Now, if you just look at the others, Anne Waiguru is a political mobilizer and a visible force.
Yeah.
If you look at Alice Wahome, political mobilizer and visible force. And then the Nyoro is a vocal person, visible. Kithure Kindiki, yes, he's good, but on the ground,
had you seen him?
Have you seen Kithure Kindiki on the ground? And then suddenly he's the one who's topping all the opinion polls. That was Ruto playing the leverage card and
because
showing
what they
Rigathi
needed
Gachagua.
actually was somebody who was going to go and mobilize folks on the ground. So based on what you're seeing, that we saw all these by-elections that happened before, and that is what he was. He was a champion mobilizer, went out and he was able to gather the numbers, and UDA then was making its strides even through those by-elections. And what did we say before? When you have things like this, it's indicative of what would happen on a national level, that the people are basically speaking the voice for the larger election that would take place later on. Right? So he was chosen because of who he could bring in terms of numbers. That's all right. But I'm also saying that I think the effect, and we know that UDA needed, in terms of the numbers they needed, the effect that choosing a woman as a running mate would have been felt in the same manner had it been done on this Kenya Kwanza side. That's what I'm saying. That the opportunity that has now been presented in terms of what can be imagined is, for me, huge brownie points for Azimio. That now you can say, all right, wait a minute. We have never envisioned this before, and it can actually be something.
It can be.
In terms of political moves, I think that was a master move.
There was like, okay, finally, there's actually a light at the end of the tunnel. Remember, we've had two women who have vied to be president, strong women, Charity Ngilu and Martha Karua. And now maybe people saw, with the force of Raila Odinga and President Uhuru Kenyatta and the other principles of Azimio behind her, it's closer. It's actually getting
closer. Much closer than it was when these two women actually vied for the presidential seat. It is much closer in this case. So imagine that this partnership would win. It is much closer than when they vied. 0719-012-600. We've got 10 minutes to the end of the show. What do you think the impact of Martha Karua and Rigathi Gachagua has been to the bases of the two campaigns and to those, especially the huge number of undecided voters that have been polling across the country? Zachary, Nakuru, good morning.
Are you?
Fine, thanks, Zachary.
Well, I congratulate you for having brought my Chief Justice, Supreme Court. Oh, I like that woman. She's motherly, and may God bless her. And when we hear her talk, I have faith. My faith in judiciary is restored.
Very good.
Now, because functionally we are short of time, let me say this, First of all, I want to tell you that I never believed that Kindiki featured anywhere. Actually, in the called as Kenya Kwanza.
Kenya Kwanza.
Oh, I confused these two outfits. I think there are some guys in the Jubilee from their competitors, who tried to now force Kindiki to be appointed. Actually, Kindiki has no numbers. Actually, let me say this, And just as like the Ruto side was trying to do to Kalonzo, because they knew Kalonzo would diminish the support from the Kikuyus, But let me say this, I've actually watched Mr. Rigathi talk. That guy, especially when he talks in our language, Kikuyu, he can even convince the dead people to rise up during the voting day and vote for whatever side he's supporting. He's a genius, actually. As far as talking is, convincing people is concerned, yeah? He has also earned a lot of marks in being steadfast in the support of the deputy president.
Yeah.
And I'm doing this, I'm not saying that I'm supporting him or whatever. I'm giving the devil his due.
Yep.
So that guy is a genius. He's a genius also having come from, the previous Kanu regime. And Kanu regime was not led by minions. It was actually led by very clever people, yeah? So, but this is my take. These people are spoiling their take by going to now mobilize some very younglings. I call them people who have not even, let me not use the term that I use, because we are on national radio.
Of course.
Why are they heckling Mother Karua? First of all, let me say this. Let me challenge all the people in Central Province and every Kikuyu, wherever he is, yeah? Yes, these people, Karua is our daughter, Ligave is our son, and all of them are people, yeah, from our community. But let their history, let their former history, both of them have got history, yeah? And they are equally good, and they are up to the task, yeah? What is going to guide us?
Yeah.
It is the history. What is Karachagua's history?
Their track record.
What is mother's history? And let me very quickly finish by saying this, because probably I know there's a person who is also calling, yeah?
Yes.
In UDA, the outfit called UDA, any Kikuyu who has been given a chance, his credentials or his meritocracy is being based on or assessed on the basis of how he opposed the president. Let me say how he abused abuses to the president. Yeah. So we have to be very, very wise. And may God bless us. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Zachary.
Thank you.
Have a lovely weekend. Robert in Nandi. Good morning.
Good morning to how are you people?
Very well, thanks.
You are asking which one now, Gachagua or Martha Karua?
We're asking what impact has each of them brought or had.
Of course, it is. Figures don't lie. You look at the demographics of this country, and the biggest population is women, followed by youth, and then sisi wazee tuko huko nyuma. So if you are a good politician, you sit down and say, which population do I exploit? And here is a case whereby maybe those who sat in that think tank table saw it fit that there was a population that had not been explored in terms of numbers in this country, and that is the women. So to me, it was one stone killing two birds.
Right.
Tribe 2 works out magic in this country. So Martha Karua comes from a populous tribe. 2, she is a lady exploiting the numbers in this country.
The gender.
And I want to believe at the end of the day that was a master strike by those who are planning the Azimio campaign.
Does it take away anything from the Kenya Kwanza support base?
Of course, man. When the two of them are placed in a TV or a radio station like yours, place Gachagua this other side and place Martha this other side. They don't even need to talk. It is just integrity that will separate the beans from the maize there. Hata sio kazi mingi, inaonekana tu before they even talk.
Robert, thank you very much and have a lovely weekend.
You too.
Asante sana. Lydia in Parklands, good morning.
Good morning, SpiceFM.
Good morning.
Very nice program. I was happy to hear Martha coming. She's a good lady. And now Martha Karua, she's a person with good experience in justice. By mistake, I happened to be near the radio, and when she was an MP, I heard her say, we passed this bill, and somebody has secretly altered it. Look at her brains, how she thinks. She is a good person. I'm happy about Martha Karua.
So do you think it sways people who maybe were undecided to now vote for this ticket, the Raila Karua ticket?
They will learn because Mata Karua has got a lot of experience in justice. So she will be a good person.
Thank you. Thank you,
Very
Lydia.
frustrating to see. Thank you.
Have a lovely weekend. 0719-012-600. We've basically just been looking at, okay, so what impact has the naming of these two running mates? These are the two leading campaigns, but they are not the only ones. Next week, we're going to be having Reuben Kigame and his running mate coming here, and also we hear from him and what their campaign is doing. What impact have we felt from the announcement of Rigathi Gachagua as William Ruto's running mate and from the announcement of Martha Karua as Raila Odinga's running mate? We're hearing, okay, when it comes to the thinking behind it, strategy, go for Mount Kenya, populous region.
Right.
Number one. On the other hand, on the Raila camp, there is now you're ticking the other boxes: integrity, tough steel, a woman, and you bring in the gender card into it. Does the gender card really play here?
I think it does.
You think so?
I think we can't ignore that it does, because finally you see deliberate inclusion of that. Look, whether it was just to get the numbers or to get this sympathy from these voters, either way, it has yielded the results. And I think it will continue to do that. Whether it was deliberate and say, we're just going to use her to be able to get those numbers. But at the end of the day, what you see is that people opening their eyes to the realization that this can actually be a possibility. So they've been able to get what are unintended consequences, and in this case, they're good ones. That people then have come to that realization.
And they'll say, all right, so because of this, I am actually now going to vote for this particular ticket.
Indeed.
Because you've got to remember, in all the opinion polls that have been coming out, whether it's by TIFA or the other organizations, the percentage of undecided voters at this stage of the campaign before the election is higher than it was last time. That means there are people who are looking at them and wondering, okay, so what's the difference between Raila on this side, Ruto on the other side? Call yourself Kenya Kwanza, call yourself Azimio One Kenya. There are people who are just wondering, okay, so what's new?
What is this?
What's new? And maybe what the two campaigns needed was just that extra push, that extra re-energization of the conversation. We thank you very much for tuning in to Kenya's biggest conversation today. We've been here since 6 a.m. We will be back on Monday. What happens tomorrow from 10?
All right, so Olivia Turner 00 Direct will be on from 10 to 2 p.m. Women-led women conversations, music by women through the day. And then after that, Jimmy Gathu comes in the afternoon for Saturday Spice from 2 to 7.
Wow. Jimmy Gathu live. Keep it here for all this entertaining music and entertainment throughout the weekend. We'll be back on Monday. Have a lovely weekend. It's now 10 a.m.
Spice up your life.